Good evening. Tonight, as you settle into stillness, allow your body to soften, your breath to slow, your thoughts to quiet. Feel the weight of your body supported completely. You are held. You are safe. You need nothing in this moment except to be exactly as you are. Before we begin, if you'd like, share what time it is, where you're listening, and where in the world you find yourself tonight. There's something comforting in knowing we're all here together, scattered across time zones, yet united in this gentle search for rest and peace. Take a slow breath in. Let it fill you completely. And now release it, letting it carry away whatever no longer serves you. Tonight's stories explore a simple yet profound truth, that so much of what weighs us down, we carry by choice. The burdens we grip, the comparisons that torment us, the endless striving that exhausts us, all of these we can put down. Right here, right now. The mountains and rivers of ancient times hold wisdom for our modern hearts. The masters who walked those paths long ago understood something we're still learning, that freedom comes not from acquiring more, but from releasing what we never needed to carry in the first place. Let the day fall away. Let your shoulders drop. Let your jaw unclench. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to do. Just this. Just breathing. Just listening. Just resting. We begin. In the village of Kamakura, there lived a young monk named Kenji, whose heart ached with the suffering of the world. Every morning when he woke, his first thoughts were of war in distant lands. As he ate his simple meal, he thought of those who went hungry. When he walked through the village, he saw illness, poverty, heartbreak everywhere. The weight of it all pressed down on his chest like a stone. Kenji could not understand how other monks seemed so peaceful. How could they smile when children were starving? How could they sit in meditation when injustice spread across the earth like wildfire? His own meditation became impossible, his mind filled with images of suffering, his heart heavy with pain that was not his own. One morning, Master Hakuin found Kenji sitting in the garden, his face drawn and grey. The young monk had not slept. Dark circles ringed his eyes like bruises. "What troubles you so deeply?" the master asked, settling beside him on the stone bench. Kenji's words tumbled out like water breaking through a dam. The wars, the famines, the countless beings in pain. How could he find peace when the world was drowning in sorrow? How could he rest when others suffered? Master Hakuin listened without speaking. When Kenji's words finally ran dry, the master stood and walked to a large stone near the garden wall. It was heavy, the size of a small barrel, covered in moss. "Pick up this stone," the master said. Kenji frowned but obeyed. He bent, wrapped his arms around the stone, and lifted. It was heavier than he expected. His back strained. His arms trembled. "Carry it," said the master. And so Kenji carried the stone. He carried it through the garden, past the meditation hall, down the narrow path to the rice fields. He carried it as the sun climbed higher, as the heat grew fierce. His arms burned. His legs shook. Sweat poured down his face, stinging his eyes. Hours passed. The stone grew heavier with each step, or perhaps Kenji grew weaker. His back screamed. His hands cramped around the rough surface. Finally, as the sun reached its peak, Kenji's legs gave way. He fell to his knees, the stone tumbling from his arms and thudding into the soft earth beside the path. Master Hakuin, who had been following at a distance, approached and sat on the ground beside his exhausted student. "Tell me, Kenji," he said quietly, "if you cannot carry this stone, what should you do?" Kenji looked at the stone, at his trembling hands, at his teacher. The answer was obvious, yet somehow profound. "Put it down," he whispered. "Just so," said the master. "If you cannot carry it, put it down." They sat together in silence. A dragonfly hovered above the stone, its wings catching the light. Somewhere in the distance, farmers sang as they worked. "The stone is heavy," Master Hakuin continued, his voice soft as wind through bamboo. "But you chose to carry it. Every moment, you chose. Even when your body begged you to stop, you held on, believing you must." Kenji felt tears slip down his cheeks, cutting tracks through the dust and sweat. "The suffering of the world is vast," the master said. "Like the ocean, it has no shore. You are not the ocean. You are a single drop of water. You can feel compassion without drowning in pain. You can care without carrying what is not yours to carry." This story whispers something essential to our modern hearts. We live in a time when news of suffering reaches us instantly, when images of pain flood our screens, when the weight of the world seems to press down on us from all directions. And if we're not careful, we mistake drowning in sorrow for caring deeply. We confuse being crushed by others' pain with true compassion. But compassion, real compassion, is not the same as absorption. Compassion sees suffering clearly and responds with wisdom. Absorption sees suffering and becomes suffering. Compassion asks, "How can I help?" Absorption asks, "Why can I not fix everything?" Think of the weight you carry right now. Perhaps it's your friend's divorce, and you lie awake at night worrying about them when they're already worrying about themselves. Perhaps it's your coworker's stress, which you take on as your own until you're exhausted trying to solve problems that aren't yours to solve. Perhaps it's the state of the world, the endless cycle of news and crisis, until you feel paralyzed by the sheer magnitude of it all. Notice how Kenji couldn't meditate, couldn't sleep, couldn't find peace, not because he lacked compassion, but because he was carrying stones that weren't his to carry. His suffering served no one. It didn't feed the hungry. It didn't stop the wars. It only made him less able to help, less present to offer what he actually could give. Consider this. Every moment you spend drowning in second-hand suffering is a moment you can't be fully present to offer real help. When you're exhausted from carrying everyone else's pain, you have nothing left to give when someone truly needs you. The airplane safety briefing is wisdom. Put on your own oxygen mask first. Not because you don't care about others, but precisely because you do. What burdens are you carrying that aren't yours? What stones have you picked up, believing you must? Your parents' marriage, your siblings' career struggles, your friend's chronic illness, your child's every disappointment, the suffering of people you'll never meet in places you'll never visit. You feel for them, good. That feeling is your humanity. But carrying their pain doesn't ease their load. It only adds your suffering to the world's total. The Master's teaching is clear. If you cannot carry it, put it down. Not because you don't care, precisely because you do care. Only by putting down what is not yours can you truly help. Only when you're not drowning yourself can you offer a hand to someone else. Let this settle into you. Compassion does not mean carrying all the world's pain. Compassion means seeing clearly, feeling genuinely, and acting wisely from a place of groundedness, not from a place of being overwhelmed. You can care deeply while standing firmly on your own 2 feet. Rest in this knowing. Breathe with it. Feel the truth of it in your body. The stones you're carrying, you can put them down. Right now. Right here. Your breath continues, gentle and steady. In and out. Just this breath. Nothing more. Let yourself rest now, held by this simple truth. You are allowed to be at peace even when the world is not. Let your body sink deeper into softness. Your mind drift toward the quiet that waits beneath all thought. In the mountains outside of Kyoto, there was a small temple called Ryoanji, where a young monk named Hogen trained under Master Joshu. Hogen was dedicated, sincere, earnest in his practice. Every morning before dawn, he was the first to rise. He swept the temple grounds with meticulous care, each stroke of the broom deliberate and mindful. He sat in meditation for hours, his back straight as bamboo, his breath counted with precision. He studied the sutras late into the night, copying passages by candlelight until his hand cramped and his eyes burned. He served tea to the elder monks with perfect attention, each gesture exactly as tradition prescribed. In the meditation hall, his chanting was clear and strong. In the kitchen, he cleaned every pot until it gleamed. Month after month, year after year, Hogen practiced. He watched as other students arrived, trained briefly, and departed, their skills recognized, their progress acknowledged. Master Joshu would sometimes praise their insight, their growing wisdom, their deepening practice. But to Hogen, the master said nothing. No acknowledgement. No recognition. Not a word of praise in 3 long years. The silence ate at Hogen like rust eating iron. He began to doubt everything. Was his practice flawed? Was he doing something wrong? Perhaps he lacked whatever quality the master saw in others. Perhaps he was wasting his time here, destined to be forever overlooked. Forever, just another monk sweeping floors and chanting sutras without any real progress. One autumn morning, with golden leaves falling thick as rain, Hogen approached Master Joshu in the garden. The master was very old, his back bent, his face lined like the bark of an ancient tree. He was doing nothing in particular, simply sitting on a stone bench, watching the leaves spiral down from the maple tree. "Master," Hogen began, his voice tight with restrained emotion, "I have trained here for 3 years. I practice diligently. I follow all the precepts. I study the teachings. And yet you have never once acknowledged my progress. You praise others, but say nothing to me. I must know, am I so hopeless a student that you see nothing worth commenting upon?" Master Joshu turned his gaze to the young monk. His eyes were clear despite their age, deep as wells. "Come," he said, rising slowly and walking toward the temple wall. Hogen followed. The master placed his weathered hand on one of the foundation stones. It was large, roughly hewn, grey and unremarkable. It had sat there so long that moss grew on its northern face, that rain had rounded its edges. "Do you see this stone?" the master asked. Yes, master. How long has it been here? Hogan frowned slightly. Since the temple was built, I suppose. Perhaps 300 years. Has anyone ever praised this stone? The question hung in the air. Hogan stared at the rock, confused. No, master. It's just a stone. Just so, said Joshu. It is just a stone. No one writes poems about it. No one offers it incense. No one bows to it or speaks its name with reverence. And yet, what would happen to this temple if we removed this stone? Hogan looked at the wall, at how the stones fit together, each one supporting the others. This particular stone bore the weight of dozens above it. Without it, the wall would collapse. The temple would fall, he said quietly. Exactly. This stone supports everything. The meditation hall where we sit, the bell tower, the living quarters, the roof that keeps us dry, all of it rests on stones like this one. They receive no praise. They ask for no recognition. They simply do what stones do. They support. They endure. And because of them, everything else is possible. The master's hand remained on the stone, almost affectionate. You are like this stone, Hogan. Steady, reliable, present. You arrive before dawn without being asked. You sweep the paths that everyone else walks upon. You prepare the tea that everyone else drinks. You maintain what everyone else uses. The whole temple functions because of monks like you, and yet you think yourself unworthy because no one applauds. Hogan felt something crack open in his chest, something that had been closed tight for years. Stones aren't praised, the master continued, yet they support the whole temple. The question is not whether anyone notices. The question is whether you know your own worth, whether you can do good work without needing anyone to tell you it's good. That is real practice. That is real strength. Here's what this ancient story knows about our modern hunger for recognition. We live in a world that measures worth by likes and shares and followers, by promotions and titles and public acclaim, by who gets featured, who gets noticed, who gets praised. And we've internalized this measuring stick until we believe that if our work goes unrecognized, it must not matter. Think about the hours you spend doing things that no one sees. The dishes you wash, the emails you send, the spreadsheets you update, the floors you mop, the reports you file, the calls you answer, the problems you quietly solve, the crises you prevent before anyone knows they almost happened, all the invisible infrastructure of your life, the foundation stones upon which everything else rests. Who praises you for these? Who even notices? And because they don't, you might feel like what you do doesn't count, doesn't matter, isn't real work, isn't valuable. You look at others who seem to get all the attention, all the recognition, all the applause, and you wonder if you're doing something wrong. But consider the foundation stone. It doesn't need praise because its worth isn't determined by whether anyone applauds. Its worth lies in what it supports, in what it makes possible. Remove that stone, and everything collapses. The fact that no one writes songs about it doesn't change its essential importance. You are someone's foundation stone. Perhaps you're the person in your office who quietly fixes problems before they become disasters. Perhaps you're the parent who gets up with the baby every night, Who packs the lunches? Who remembers the permission slips? Who keeps the household running while everyone else sleeps? Perhaps you're the friend who listens without judgment, who shows up without being asked, who holds space for others to fall apart. Perhaps you're the teacher whose students won't remember your name in 20 years, but whose kindness shaped how they treat others. Perhaps you're the nurse whose patients see for mere minutes, but whose competence keeps them safe. Perhaps you're the person maintaining systems, updating databases, ensuring accuracy, catching errors work that's only noticed when it isn't done. This is the ego's trap that the master points to, seeking worth in recognition rather than in the work itself. The ego needs constant feeding. It needs to be told it's special, important, better than others. It craves praise the way a fire craves fuel. And when that praise doesn't come, the ego whispers that you must be worthless. But stones don't have egos. They don't need anyone to affirm their value. They simply exist in their purpose, supporting what needs support, enduring what needs endurance. And the temple stands because of them. What if your worth wasn't determined by who noticed you? What if the quiet, unglamorous, behind-the-scenes work you do is actually the most essential? What if being a foundation stone is more valuable than being the ornament everyone admires? Let this truth settle into your bones. True worth isn't measured by recognition, but by how quietly you support the world around you. The work you do that no one sees still matters. The care you give that no one applauds still creates safety and possibility for others. You are essential. Not because anyone says so, because you are. Just this. Your breath. Your being. Your quiet presence in the world. That is enough. That has always been enough. Rest now in your own worth. Let your body soften with this knowing. You don't need anyone's approval to matter. You already do. Take a moment to feel your breath moving through you. Notice how it comes and goes without effort, without praise, without acknowledgement. And yet it sustains you, just like you sustain others in ways they may never recognize. And that's okay. That's more than okay. That's beautiful. There was once a man named Kaito who served as a governor of a prosperous province. His position brought him power, respect, and wealth. People bowed when he passed. Servants attended to his every need. Merchants offered him their finest goods. Musicians performed at his request. When he spoke, everyone listened. In this province lived a Zen master named Kayu, renowned for his wisdom and compassion. People traveled from distant villages to sit with him, to learn from him, to receive his teaching. The governor heard these stories and decided that he, too, should meet this famous master. After all, didn't a man of his stature deserve the master's attention? So Governor Kaito arranged a visit. He would go to Master Kayu's humble temple, and the master would surely be honored to meet someone of such importance. The governor prepared for days. He selected his finest silk robes, the ones embroidered with golden thread. He chose his most prestigious retinue officials, guards, banner carriers. He had proclamations sent ahead announcing his arrival. On the appointed day, the procession made its way to the temple. Drums beat, banners rippled in the breeze. The governor sat in a magnificent palanquin, shaded by a silk parasol held by a servant whose only job was to ensure no sunlight touched the governor's face. They arrived at the temple gate with great ceremony. The officials announced him. His Excellency Governor Kaito, appointed by the Emperor himself, administrator of the Eastern Province, keeper of the peace, protector of the people, honored representative of the imperial court. A young monk came to the gate and bowed. He listened to the lengthy introduction. Then he spoke softly. "The master is in meditation. He cannot see you." Governor Kaito was taken aback. Surely there was some mistake. "Tell him who I am," he said. "Tell him that the governor requests his presence." The monk returned. When he came back, his message was the same. The master is in meditation. He sends his regrets but cannot receive visitors today. The governor's face flushed. His officials shifted uncomfortably. The guards looked at their feet. Never had the governor been turned away. Never had anyone refused to see him. He left, humiliated, his anger simmering beneath his carefully maintained composure. For weeks, he stewed over this rejection. How dare this simple monk, this teacher in a barely standing temple, refuse to see a man of his position? The arrogance, the disrespect, it ate at him. Finally, his curiosity overcame his pride. Or perhaps his pride took a different form. He would show this master that he could be humble if he chose to be. So he returned to the temple. This time, he came alone. No palanquin, no retinue, no banners. Just a single attendant carrying nothing but a simple walking staff. He wore plain robes, not the silk embroidered with gold, but simple cotton, clean and unadorned. When he reached the temple gate, he didn't announce himself with titles. He simply said his name, his personal name, the one his mother had called him as a child. "Kenji," he said. "I am Kenji. I would like to speak with Master Kayu if he has time." The same young monk appeared. He looked at the man before him, no longer the imposing governor wrapped in titles and ceremony, but simply a person with questions in his heart. "Please wait," the monk said, and disappeared inside. This time, when he returned, he smiled. "The master will see you." Kenji followed the monk through the simple corridors of the temple. No gold here, no silk, just worn wood and paper screens and the smell of incense. They reached a small room where Master Kayu sat on a simple cushion, a low table before him, holding nothing but a kettle and 2 teacups. "Kenji," the master said warmly, gesturing to the cushion across from him. "Please sit. I'm so glad you've come." The man who had been Governor Kaito, who now was simply Kenji, sat down. The master poured tea with careful attention. They drank in comfortable silence. Then they talked. Not about governance or politics or position, but about life, about suffering, about the heart's true seeking, about what lies beneath all the roles we play. When Kenji finally left, hours later, he felt lighter than he had in years. As he walked back through the temple gate, the young monk appeared again. "Forgive my question," Kenji said, "but why did the master refuse to see me before, but welcomed me today?" The monk smiled gently. The master said he could not meet the governor. The governor's retinue and titles and ceremony filled the doorway so completely that there was no room for the man himself to enter. But Kenji is always welcome. This story reaches across centuries to touch something we wrestle with every day. We wear so many masks, so many roles. We are someone's employee, someone's parent, someone's partner. We hold titles, positions, identities that we believe define us. And slowly, without noticing, we forget that these are costumes we wear, not who we truly are. Think about the different versions of yourself that you present. At work, you might be competent, professional, having it all together. At home, you might be the caretaker, the responsible one, the person who fixes everything. With friends, you might be the funny one, or the wise one, or the one who always has a plan. On social media, you might curate a version of yourself that's successful, happy, living your best life. But who are you when all these roles fall away? Who is the person beneath the job title, beneath the relationship status, beneath the degrees and achievements and social masks? That's what Master Caillou was asking. He couldn't meet the governor because the governor was just a collection of titles and expectations and prescribed behaviors. He could only meet Kenji, the actual human being, raw and real and uncertain. We cling to these roles because they feel safe. They tell us who we're supposed to be, how we're supposed to act, what's expected of us. The role of governor comes with instructions. You wear these robes, speak in this way, maintain this dignity. You don't have to figure out who you are because the role tells you. But these roles also imprison us. They create distance between us and others. They prevent real connection. Think about how hard it is to truly connect with someone who's always performing their role. The boss who's always being professional. The parent who's always being strong. The friend who's always being put together. You can't quite reach them. The role stands in the way. And even more tragically, these roles create distance between us and ourselves. We perform them so consistently that we forget we're performing. We become so identified with being the successful professional, or the perfect parent, or the capable friend that we lose touch with the uncertain, vulnerable, questioning human being underneath. When do you take off your masks? When do you stop performing your roles? Maybe late at night when everyone else is asleep, you allow yourself to feel confused, scared, lost. Maybe in the shower, when no one can see, you finally let yourself cry. Maybe never. Maybe you've worn your roles so long that you've forgotten how to take them off. The governor had to strip away everything, the silk robes, the retinue, the titles, the ceremony, before the real person could emerge. Before Kenji could finally be seen. And notice what happened when he did. He was warmly welcomed. The master had been waiting not for the governor but for Kenji all along. This is the deeper truth. When we drop our social masks, real connection becomes possible. Not just connection with others, but connection with ourselves. When you stop performing and allow yourself to simply be, uncertain and imperfect and human, that's when you can actually be present. That's when real intimacy, real friendship, real peace becomes possible. But it's terrifying, isn't it? To show up without your titles and achievements and roles to hide behind. To just be yourself, whoever that is. What if people don't like the real you? What if the real you isn't impressive? What if, without all those costumes and performances, you're just ordinary? Master Caillou's answer is clear. Ordinary is what he's been waiting for. The real you is who he wants to meet. Not the polished version. Not the successful version. Not the version that has it all figured out. Just you. Just Kenji. Just the human being beneath all the performance. Who would you be if you took off all your masks right now? If you let go of how you're supposed to be and allowed yourself to be exactly as you are? Tired, confused, uncertain, ordinary. That person, that's who's been waiting to be welcomed. That's who's been standing outside the gate, hidden behind roles and titles and expectations, waiting for permission to enter. The permission is granted. You can put it all down. The person underneath is enough, has always been enough. Rest in this. Breathe with this. The real you is welcome here. No roles required. No performance necessary. Just this. Just you. Just being. Your breath continues, soft and steady. Let everything else fall away. All the masks, all the roles, all the ways you try to be someone you think you should be. Let it all drop. What remains is enough. What remains is you. Near the town of Kyoto, in a small temple surrounded by persimmon trees, there lived a nun named Chiono. She was devoted to her practice with an intensity that bordered on desperation. She meditated for hours every day, sitting so still that sometimes birds would land on her shoulders, mistaking her for a statue. She studied the teachings, memorizing sutras until she could recite them perfectly from memory. She practiced mindfulness in every activity, attending to each breath, each step, each movement with exquisite care. But despite all this effort, or perhaps because of it, awakening eluded her. Other students at the temple would have sudden insights, breakthrough moments where understanding bloomed like flowers opening to the sun. But Chiono remained in darkness, grasping, striving, trying with all her strength to break through to enlightenment. Her teacher, Master Senjo, watched her with compassion. He saw how tightly she held to her practice, how desperately she clung to each teaching, how exhausted she became from the sheer effort of trying to become awakened. He said nothing. Some things cannot be taught, only discovered. Years passed. Chiono grew older, her devotion never wavering but her frustration deepening. Why was she blocked? What was she doing wrong? She tried harder, sat longer, studied more intensely. But the harder she grasped for enlightenment, the further it seemed to slip away, like trying to catch water in her bare hands. One late summer night, Chiono was walking back to her small room from the well, carrying a wooden bucket filled with water. It was very old, that bucket, its wooden slats held together with bamboo strips. She had carried water in it countless times, mindfully, carefully, the water sloshing gently against the sides as she walked. The moon was full that night, huge and golden, hanging in the sky like a ripe persimmon. Its reflection floated in the bucket's water, perfect and clear. Chiono walked slowly, watching the moon's reflection ripple and dance with each careful step. The path back to her room led through a small garden. Tree roots crisscrossed the worn dirt, and Chiono navigated them as she always did, stepping carefully in the dim light. But this night, her foot caught, just slightly, just enough. The old bucket hit a stone. A bamboo strip finally gave way after years of strain, and with a soft splitting sound, the bottom of the bucket broke open. The water rushed out, spilling across the path, soaking into the earth, and with it went the moon's reflection, disappearing instantly. as though it had never been there at all. The bright circle of light scattered into nothing, into darkness, into absence. Chiono stood there, holding the broken bucket, water pooling around her feet. She stared at the place where the moon's reflection had been. And in that moment of total loss, in that instant when everything she'd been carefully carrying broke apart and spilled away, something shifted. She understood. The moon itself had never been in the bucket. She'd been carrying a reflection, an illusion, treating it as though it were real. And all these years, her practice had been the same. She'd been grasping at enlightenment as though it was something to capture, to hold, to carry carefully back to her room and keep safe. She'd been treating awakening like water in a bucket, something to possess and protect. But enlightenment isn't something to grasp. It's not something to achieve or acquire or carry. It's not separate from this very moment. It's the moon itself, always present in the sky, whether reflected in water or not. It's here, now, in the broken bucket and the spilled water and the muddy feet and the late summer night with tree frogs singing. In the moment the bucket broke, when everything she'd been carrying fell away, when all her effort and grasping and striving spilled out across the path, that's when she finally saw, not because she achieved something, but because she let go. She laughed then, a sound of pure joy and relief that echoed through the quiet garden. She laughed at all the years of trying so hard. She laughed at the broken bucket. She laughed at herself, standing there in the moonlight with wet feet and empty hands. Free at last. This story reaches into the heart of a modern struggle. We live in a culture built entirely on achievement. We believe that everything good comes from effort, from trying, from doing more, doing better, doing it right. We apply this to everything: our careers, our relationships, even our spiritual practice. We try to achieve peace. We work at being happy. We strive to become enlightened, or awake, or present, or mindful. We read the books, take the workshops, do the practices. We meditate, we journal, we set intentions, we track our progress. And underneath it all is this belief: if I just try hard enough, if I just do it right, I will finally reach the thing I'm seeking. But consider Chiono's years of desperate practice. She was doing everything correctly. She was dedicated, sincere, disciplined. And yet awakening wouldn't come. Not because she was doing something wrong, but because the very act of grasping, of trying to capture and hold enlightenment, kept it out of reach. Think about moments in your own life when you've tried too hard. Maybe you've tried so hard to fall asleep that you kept yourself awake. Or tried so hard to remember something that you blocked the memory. Or tried so hard to make someone love you that you pushed them away. There's a paradox here. Sometimes effort prevents the very thing we're seeking. We grasp after peace while carrying buckets of worry. We reach for contentment while clutching dissatisfaction tightly in our fists. We pursue presence while constantly looking ahead to what we might become. And the tighter we hold, the more elusive it all becomes. What are you carrying right now? What bucket are you carefully holding, afraid that if you set it down, you'll lose something essential? Perhaps it's the idea that you'll be happy once you achieve certain goals. Perhaps it's the belief that peace will come when you finally fix all your problems. Perhaps it's the story that you'll be enough when you've accomplished enough. Notice how exhausting this is. Notice how Chiono grew weary from all that effort. The meditation, the study, the constant vigilance. All of it trying to capture something that cannot be captured because it's not separate from you. It's not something to achieve. It's not somewhere else. Sometime later, after you've done enough work, the bucket breaks. The water spills. The reflection disappears. And that feels like loss, like failure. But it's actually liberation. Because what you were carrying wasn't real to begin with. The moon's reflection isn't the moon. And your ideas about enlightenment, about peace, about who you'll be when you finally achieve enough, those aren't the actual thing itself. The actual thing, peace, presence, awakening, your true nature is already here. It's been here all along. But you've been so busy carrying your bucket, so focused on the reflection, that you haven't looked up to see the moon itself hanging in the sky above you. What would happen if you stopped grasping? Not as another thing to achieve, I will practice not grasping, but as an actual release. A letting go. What if you put down the bucket? What if you stopped trying so hard? What if, just for this moment, you allowed yourself to rest exactly as you are, without trying to become anything different? This is the great paradox. Awakening is not achieved but revealed when grasping stops. The more you cling, the further you are from truth. Not because truth is far away, but because clinging itself is what creates the sense of separation. Let go, and discover you've been standing in what you seek all along. Let the bucket break. Let the water spill. Let the reflection disappear. What remains is real. What remains is enough. What remains is this moment, exactly as it is, perfect in its imperfection. Rest now. Stop trying. Stop grasping. Just be here. Your breath. This darkness. This soft fading into sleep. Nothing to achieve. Nowhere to go. Just this. Just now. Just you. As you are. Held by the earth. Breathing with the night. The moon is in the sky. It was always in the sky. Look up. Your body grows heavier. Your mind grows quieter. Let go. Let go. Let go. In a small village nestled between mountains, there lived a Buddhist monk named Bankai, who was known for his practical wisdom. People came to him not with abstract philosophical questions but with real problems, seeking guidance for daily life. Master Bankai never turned anyone away, though his answers were often not what people expected. One day, a man named Satoru came to the temple. He was agitated, breathing heavily, his face flushed with anger. Master Bankai invited him to sit and served him tea, waiting patiently while Satoru struggled to calm himself enough to speak. "Master," Satoru finally said, his voice tight, "I need your help. My neighbor has wronged me terribly. Every day, he finds new ways to cause me trouble. His chickens come into my garden and destroy my vegetables. When I ask him to control them, he laughs. His children are loud and disrespectful. When I speak to him about it, he insults me. Just this morning, he built his fence so that it encroaches on my land by at least 3 feet. Everyone can see it, but he claims the land is his. I am so angry I can barely think. I came here hoping you could help me see how to make him understand, how to force him to treat me fairly." Master Bankai sipped his tea slowly. Then he stood and walked to a small window that overlooked a courtyard where a young novice monk was attempting to train a stubborn horse to accept a saddle. "Come," the master said. Satoru followed, his frustration momentarily distracted by curiosity. They stood at the window together, watching the scene below. The young monk approached the horse, saddle in hand. The horse immediately backed away, ears flat, eyes rolling. The novice persisted, moving closer. The horse reared up, hooves flashing. The novice, growing frustrated, raised his hand and struck the horse's flank with the end of his rope. The horse only became more agitated, more resistant. Again and again, the novice tried. And again, the horse refused, growing more fearful, more defensive with each attempt. Finally, in complete exasperation, the young monk began beating the horse, striking it repeatedly, shouting at it to obey. Master Bankai opened the window and called down in a sharp voice the novice had never heard from his gentle teacher, "Stop." The young monk froze, rope raised mid-strike. He looked up at the window, ashamed. "Come here," the master said. The novice came, head bowed, expecting a severe reprimand. Satoru stood to the side, confused about what this had to do with his problem. "Why were you beating the horse?" Master Bankai asked quietly. "Because he won't listen, Master. I've tried everything. He's stubborn and stupid. He refuses to accept the saddle. Has beating him made him more willing to accept it?" The novice looked at his feet. "No, Master." "Then why do you continue?" I don't know. Because I was angry. Because I wanted him to obey." Master Bankai nodded slowly. Then he turned to Satoru. "You came here with a question about your neighbor. I do not have wisdom about your neighbor. But I have a question for you. Instead of beating the horse, why not train your own mind first?" Satoru frowned. "I don't understand. You are like this young monk. Your neighbor behaves badly, this may be true. But your neighbor's behavior is not the source of your suffering. Your reaction to his behavior is the source. He is the horse that will not accept the saddle. You are the person beating the horse, making everything worse, including your own peace." "But I'm not beating anyone," Satoru protested. "I'm the one being wronged. You are beating yourself," the master said gently. "Every time you replay his insults in your mind, you strike yourself. Every time you lie awake at night imagining what you should have said to him, you strike yourself. Every time you feel that hot anger rise in your chest when you think of his fence encroaching on your land, you strike yourself. Your neighbor may be causing problems, but you are the one making yourself suffer." Satoru stood silent, stunned. "The horse is the horse," Master Bankai continued. "You cannot control whether the horse will accept the saddle. You can only control whether you will beat it and yourself in frustration. Your neighbor is your neighbor. You cannot control whether he will respect your boundaries. You can only control whether you will torture yourself with anger about it. Here's what this story illuminates about our daily struggles. We encounter difficult people all the time. The co-worker who takes credit for our work. The family member who never stops criticizing. The friend who always cancels at the last minute. The stranger who cuts us off in traffic. The neighbor who plays loud music at midnight. the person in line at the store who's rude to the cashier, and our immediate response is to focus entirely on them. If only they would change. If only they would behave properly. If only they would respect us, understand us, treat us better. We spend tremendous energy trying to control them, or at least trying to make them see how wrong they are. But people are like that stubborn horse. You cannot force them to change. You can explain. You can set boundaries. You can remove yourself from the situation. But you cannot reach into their mind and make them understand, make them care, make them be different. The horse either accepts the saddle or it doesn't. Your neighbor either respects boundaries or he doesn't. Your co-worker either treats you fairly or she doesn't. What you can control, the only thing you can actually control, is your own mind. Your own reaction. Your own internal response to whatever the external situation presents. Think about the last time someone really upset you. Maybe they said something dismissive in a meeting, or forgot something important, or made a decision you disagreed with. Now notice what happened next. Not what they did next, but what you did. How many times did you replay the situation in your mind? How many imaginary conversations did you have with them, perfectly articulating everything you should have said? How long did you stay angry, the emotion churning in your gut like acid? That person probably went on with their day, unaffected. But you carried that anger for hours, maybe days. You beat yourself with it. You lost sleep over it. You couldn't focus on anything else. The situation itself may have lasted 5 minutes, but your suffering about it lasted for hours. The horse is the situation. You are the person with the rope. You can beat the horse, beat yourself in frustration, or you can train your own mind. This doesn't mean accepting mistreatment. This doesn't mean allowing people to walk all over you. You can still set boundaries, have difficult conversations, even end relationships if necessary. But you can do all of those things without the internal violence of chronic anger and resentment. You can respond to bad behavior without suffering about bad behavior. The suffering doesn't come from the situation itself. It comes from the mind's reaction to the situation. The churning, the ruminating, the replaying, the imagining of revenge, the feeling of victimhood, the sense of injustice. All of that is self-inflicted. This is incredibly empowering when you really understand it. Because if the suffering comes from your mind's reaction, then you have the power to change it. Not by forcing yourself to feel differently, but by recognizing that you're beating yourself and choosing to stop. When that anger rises, and it will rise, because you're human, you can notice it. You can feel it as sensation in your body. Hot chest, tight jaw, clenched fists. And then you can recognize, this feeling is me beating myself. And you can choose, gently, to stop, to breathe, to let the horse be the horse, to let the neighbor be the neighbor, to let the situation be what it is without adding your own suffering to it. This is training the mind, not suppressing emotion, but no longer feeding it, not pretending everything is fine, but no longer drowning in the story about how terrible it is. The situation exists, the emotion arises, but you don't have to beat yourself with it again and again and again. Let the horse be a horse. Let people be who they are. You cannot control them. You can only train your own mind to respond without suffering, without beating yourself raw with anger and resentment that only hurts you. Rest in this. Your breath continues. The situations in your life remain. The difficult people remain. But you can stop beating yourself. You can put down the rope. You can train your mind instead. Just this breath. Just this moment. The horse is the horse. And you are free to stop the beating. Free to find peace even when others behave poorly. Free to rest even in the midst of conflict. Your body grows heavier still. Your thoughts slow and soften. Let it all be. Let the horse be the horse. Let your mind be at peace. Nothing to fix right now. Nothing to force. Just breathing. Just resting. Just this. In a quiet farming village in ancient China, there lived a man named Danzan and his wife, Atsuko. They had struggled for years to have a child, and when their daughter Hana was finally born, their joy knew no bounds. She was perfect curious, bright-eyed, full of laughter. As she grew, she brought light into every room she entered. But when Hana was 7 years old, she fell ill. It started as a simple cold that wouldn't go away. Then came the fever. The village healer tried everything: herbs, poultices, prayers to the ancestors. But Hana grew weaker day by day. Within 2 weeks, she was gone. Danzan and Atsuko were destroyed by grief. Atsuko especially could not accept it. She stopped eating, stopped sleeping. She sat in Hana's room, holding her daughter's clothes, unable to comprehend that the child who had worn them would never return. The world felt wrong, fundamentally broken. How could the sun rise when Hana was gone? How could birds sing? How could life continue as though nothing had happened? In her desperation, Atsuko heard of a Buddhist master named Ryokan who lived as a hermit in the mountains. People said he had wisdom beyond understanding, that he could see into the nature of things. Perhaps he could help her understand this unbearable loss. She traveled for 2 days to reach his small hut, barely more than a shelter built against a rock face. Master Ryokan was very old, his face weathered as tree bark, his eyes gentle as rain. When Atsuko arrived, he invited her to sit and made her tea from wild mountain herbs. Through her tears, she told him everything. About Hana, about the illness, about the unbearable wrongness of losing her child, about how she couldn't breathe, couldn't function, couldn't accept this reality. Please, she begged, help me understand why this happened. Help me make sense of this. Give me something, some wisdom, some teaching that will help me bear this pain. Master Ryokan listened with complete attention. When she finished, he sat in silence for a long moment, his old hands wrapped around his teacup. Then he began to speak, his voice soft as falling leaves. In the spring, he said, I watched the cherry blossoms bloom on the trees near my hut. For a few perfect weeks, they are magnificent, delicate pink petals covering every branch, transforming the entire mountain into something so beautiful it makes my heart ache. I sit beneath them every morning and evening, breathing in their fragrance, watching their petals dance in the wind. I know they are fleeting. I know they will not last. And still, I love them completely. He paused, sipping his tea. Then the wind comes, the rain comes, and one by one, the petals fall. They drift down like snow, covering the ground in pink and white. The branches become bare again. The magnificence is gone. And every year, I feel the loss. Every year, I miss their beauty. Every year, I wish they would stay. Atsuko waited, wondering what this had to do with her daughter. But here is what I have learned, the master continued. The cherry blossoms are precious precisely because they do not last. If they bloomed forever, we would stop seeing them. We would walk past them without wonder. It is their very impermanence that makes them sacred. The same wind that takes them away is what made them beautiful to begin with. He looked directly at Atsuko then, his old eyes full of compassion. Your daughter was a cherry blossom. Perfect. Precious. Blooming briefly in your life. You want to understand why she was taken. But there is no why. There is only what is. Blossoms bloom and fall. Rivers flow to the sea. Winter follows autumn. And all things that arise must pass away. This is not cruel. This is not wrong. This is the nature of all things. Atsuko felt something in her chest crack open. But I can't accept it. I can't just let her go. Who asks you to let her go? Ryokan said gently. She will always be with you. The cherry blossoms fall, but they return the next spring. Not the same blossoms, but the same beauty, the same miracle. Your daughter's body is gone, but the love you shared, the joy she brought, the way she changed you that remains, that is eternal. He reached out and touched the ground beside him, where a single cherry petal lay, brown and curled at its edges. This petal is dying, he said. But dying is not the opposite of living. Dying is part of living. The petal was perfect when it bloomed. It is perfect now as it returns to the earth. Your daughter was perfect in her 7 years. She is perfect now in her absence. The grief you feel, that is love continuing. Let it move through you like water through a river. It will change shape, but it will not end. This story speaks to the deepest pain we can imagine, loss of what we love most. We live in a culture that treats death as a failure, as something to be fought, denied, hidden away. We don't speak about it. We don't prepare for it. And when it arrives, as it always does, we are devastated not just by the loss itself, but by our inability to accept that loss is woven into the fabric of existence. Everything you love will end. Every person you cherish will die. Every moment of joy will pass. Every beautiful thing will fade. This isn't pessimism. This is truth. And our suffering comes not from the ending itself, but from our resistance to the ending. Our belief that things should be permanent when permanence was never possible. Think about the cherry blossoms in the story. Why are they so precious? Why do people travel hundreds of miles to see them? Why do poets write about them? Why do they make people weep with their beauty? Because they don't last. Because you have only a few weeks to see them. Because next week they'll be gone. Their impermanence is what makes them matter. If cherry blossoms bloomed year-round, no one would care. But because they're fleeting, because they're here and then they're not, we pay attention. We stop. We look. We feel something in response to their brief, brilliant presence. The same is true for everything. The sunset is precious because it lasts only minutes. The rainbow matters because it appears and disappears. The perfect day with someone you love is perfect partly because you know you won't have infinite perfect days. The awareness of ending makes the present moment sacred. But we resist this. We want permanence. We want the people we love to never change, never age, never die. We want our health, our youth, our success to last forever. We want to hold on to every good thing and have it remain exactly as it is right now. And when change comes, and change always comes, we feel betrayed. We feel that something has gone wrong, that the universe has made a mistake. Master Ryokan's teaching points to a different understanding. Nothing has gone wrong. Blossoms bloom and fall. This is not cruelty. This is nature. Your body ages. This is not failure. This is life. People die. This is not punishment. This is the way of all things. Fighting against this truth doesn't prevent endings. It only adds suffering to the natural sadness of loss. There's a difference between grief and resistance. Grief is the natural sadness that comes when we lose what we love. It's the heart's response to absence. It moves through us like a wave, sometimes gentle, sometimes overwhelming, but it moves. Resistance is when we refuse to accept the loss, when we stay stuck in this shouldn't have happened, when we torture ourselves with if only and why. Grief honors what was. Resistance refuses what is. Grief allows the cherry petal to fall. Resistance tries to glue it back onto the branch. Grief flows. Resistance creates a dam, backing up the water until the pressure becomes unbearable. What are you resisting right now? Perhaps it's a relationship that's ended. Perhaps it's a job you lost. Perhaps it's your youth fading. Perhaps it's a dream that died. Perhaps it's someone you love who's changed, who's no longer who they used to be. Perhaps it's your own body, which no longer does what it once did. You can grieve these things. Please do grieve them. Feel the sadness. Honor what was. But don't resist the truth of their passing. Don't torture yourself with the belief that things should be different. Cherry blossoms fall. That's what cherry blossoms do. And the falling doesn't negate the beauty of the blooming. Your daughter was perfect in her 7 years. Your youth was perfect in its time. That relationship was perfect in its season. And the ending of these things doesn't erase their preciousness. They were here. They were real. They changed you. That remains true even after they're gone. Let the petals fall. Not because you want them to, but because they're falling anyway. And fighting gravity only exhausts you. Let them fall, and trust that something in you will bloom again, differently, in its own time. Rest now in the truth of impermanence. Your breath comes and goes. Thoughts arise and fade. Even grief, as heavy as it feels, will change shape. Nothing stays. Nothing lasts. And that's okay? That's how things are. You can rest in this. You can be held by this truth, as sad as it sometimes is. Just breathe. Let the day end. Let everything be as it is. Cherry blossoms bloom and fall. And the world continues, holding space for both the blooming and the falling, for both the joy and the grief. Sleep now. Let go. Let the petals fall where they may. You are held. Everything is held. Even in the ending, even in the loss, life continues. And you continue. Changed but here. Sad but breathing. Human and whole. The blossoms will return. Not the same ones, but blossoms nonetheless. Spring always comes again. Rest in this. Sleep in this. You are part of this eternal cycle of blooming and fading. And that's enough. That's beautiful. That's everything. Your breathing slows. Your body softens completely. Let sleep come now, gentle as cherry petals drifting to the ground. Let everything go. Let everything be. Just rest. Just this. Just now. In the early morning mist of a Chinese village, there lived a merchant named Tozan who had devoted years to spiritual practice. He visited temples regularly, gave generously to monks, and studied the sacred texts with dedication. But something nagged at him, a feeling that all his religious activity was missing something essential. One day, he heard of a great teacher named Master Bankai, who lived in a small monastery at the edge of town. People spoke of this master with reverence, saying he embodied the teachings rather than merely discussing them. Tarzan decided to visit. When he arrived, he found the master in the courtyard, hanging freshly washed robes on a line to dry. No ceremony, no special preparations, just an old man doing laundry in the morning sun. Tozan approached and bowed deeply. "Master," he began, "I have traveled far to ask you about the greatest miracles of our faith. I have heard that truly enlightened beings can perform wonders that defy nature. My own teacher once told me of a master who could write holy words in the sky with his finger, visible to all who watched. Another could walk on water across the deepest river. These miracles prove the power of spiritual attainment, do they not? What miracles can you perform?" Master Bankai paused in his work, holding a wet robe in his weathered hands. Water dripped onto the stones beneath his feet, each drop catching the morning light. He looked at Tozan with eyes that seemed to see through him. "Miracles," he said quietly. "Yes, I perform miracles every day." Tozan leaned forward eagerly. At last, he would witness something extraordinary. "My miracle is this," the master said, wringing out the robe and hanging it carefully on the line. "When I am hungry, I eat. When I am thirsty, I drink. When I am tired, I sleep. When my robes are dirty, I wash them." He gestured to the clothesline, where simple robes fluttered in the breeze. "That is my miracle." Tozan felt disappointment wash over him like cold water. "But master, everyone does these things. Where is the miracle in ordinary activities? A child can eat when hungry. An animal drinks when thirsty. These are not miracles, they are merely survival." Bankai smiled, a gentle expression that held no judgment. He reached down and picked up a small stone from the path. He held it up to the light, turning it slowly. "You say everyone does these things," he said. "But do they? When you eat, Tozan, where is your mind? Are you tasting the food, feeling its texture, experiencing its nourishment? Or are you thinking about your business deals, worrying about tomorrow, replaying conversations from yesterday?" Tozan opened his mouth to respond, then closed it. The master was right. Most meals, he barely tasted the food. His mind was always elsewhere, planning, worrying, calculating. When you drink water, the master continued, do you feel the coolness moving down your throat? Do you notice the miracle that this simple liquid keeps you alive? Or do you drink while reading, while walking, while thinking about 100 other things? Tozan was silent. Most people eat without tasting. They drink without feeling. They sleep without resting. They wash without awareness. They walk without arriving. They live without being alive. This is the tragedy. They are surrounded by miracles every moment, and they see nothing because they are not truly present for any of it. The master set the stone down gently, exactly where he'd found it. You ask about writing in the sky, walking on water. These are parlor tricks. They impress the mind but change nothing. The real miracle, the one that transforms everything, is to be fully present in this moment, exactly as it is. To eat when hungry and truly eat. To drink when thirsty and truly drink. This sounds simple, but it is the hardest thing in the world. Because to do it, you must stop living in your head and start living in your life. He returned to hanging his robes, each movement deliberate, attentive, complete. The greatest miracle is full presence in ordinary moments. Everything else is distraction. This ancient teaching cuts straight through to something we desperately need to hear in our modern world. We are drowning in the extraordinary. We're surrounded by notifications, feeds, streams of information designed to capture our attention. We chase peak experiences, the perfect vacation, the amazing meal, the life-changing event. We believe that meaning exists somewhere else, in some special moment that's more important than this one. But consider what you did this morning. Maybe you showered. Did you feel the water on your skin? Did you notice the temperature, the pressure, the way the water ran down your body? Or were you already gone, thinking about your day, rehearsing a difficult conversation, worrying about a deadline? Were you physically in the shower, but mentally somewhere else entirely? Maybe you made coffee or tea. Did you smell the aroma? Feel the warmth of the cup in your hands? Taste the first sip with full attention? Or did you drink while scrolling through your phone, checking email, half listening to the news, your mind fractured into a dozen different directions? This is what we do. We eat lunch at our desks while working. We watch TV while checking our phones. We talk to our children while thinking about work. We exercise while listening to podcasts. We're never quite here, never fully present, always splitting our attention, always half absent from our own lives. And then we wonder why we feel disconnected, why life feels flat, why we're tired even after sleeping, hungry even after eating, thirsty even after drinking. Because we're not actually doing these things. We're going through the motions while our minds are somewhere else. Master Bankai's miracle is full presence, being completely where you are, doing one thing at a time with total attention. This sounds absurdly simple, but try it. Try eating a meal with no phone, no TV, no book, no conversation. Just eating, just tasting, just chewing, just swallowing. Notice how hard it is. Notice how your mind rebels, reaching for distraction, desperate to think about something else, to do something else, to be somewhere else. We chase the extraordinary and miss the sacred in everyday life. We want to see someone right in the sky while we completely ignore the actual sky above us, which is performing miracles every moment Clouds forming and dissolving, light changing by the second, birds wheeling through invisible currents of air. We want to walk on water while missing the miracle that water exists at all, that it keeps us alive, that every cell in our body depends on this extraordinary substance. Think about your breathing right now. You've been breathing this entire time, thousands of breaths today. Did you notice even one of them before this moment? Your heart has been beating. Your blood has been flowing. Your body has been performing thousands of coordinated processes to keep you alive. And you've been completely unaware of any of it because you've been busy chasing something you think is more important. The greatest miracle is already happening. You are alive. Right now. In this moment. Air is entering your lungs. Your heart is pumping blood to every part of your body. You can hear, see, feel, think. This is extraordinary. This is miraculous. But we take it completely for granted because we're convinced that real life is happening somewhere else, in some other moment, doing something more special than whatever we're doing right now. What if the meaning you're seeking is right here? What if the peace you're chasing exists in this breath, this moment, this simple act of being alive and aware, not in some future achievement or past memory, but here, in the ordinary miracle of now. When you're washing dishes tonight, wash dishes. Feel the warm water. Notice the slipperiness of soap. Attend to the transformation from dirty to clean. When you're walking from one room to another, walk. Feel your feet touching the ground. Notice your balance, your movement through space. When you're lying down to sleep, lie down to sleep. Feel the bed supporting you. Notice the weight of the blankets. Sense your body settling. This is the practice. Not special meditation on a mountaintop. Not peak experiences in exotic locations. But full presence in the boring, ordinary, mundane moments that make up most of your life. Because these moments aren't boring when you're actually present for them. They're miraculous. They're sacred. They're all you actually have. The Master's miracle. When hungry, eat. When thirsty, drink. Be here. Be now. Be alive. Not later. Not when things are different. Not when you've achieved something or fixed something or become something. Now. In this moment. Exactly as it is. This is enough. This is everything. This is the miracle you've been looking for while looking everywhere else. Rest in this. Your breath continues. You don't have to make it special. You don't have to do anything extraordinary. Just breathe. Just be. Just this simple, ordinary, miraculous moment of being alive. Let everything else fall away. The chasing, the striving, the belief that real life is happening somewhere else. It's here. It's always been here. You are surrounded by miracles. Open your eyes. But not yet. First, sleep. Let this ordinary miracle of rest wash over you. Your body knows what to do. Let it do it. Nothing special. Nothing extraordinary. Just sleep. Just this. Your breathing deepens. Your body grows heavy. The most ordinary miracle of all consciousness dissolving into rest. Let it come. Let yourself go. Just this. Just now. Just you. Just breathing. Just being. just alive. That's the miracle. That's everything. That's enough. There was once a small fish named Riku who lived in a vast coral reef. The reef was his entire world, colorful, busy, full of life and danger and beauty. One day, Riku was swimming near the surface when he overheard two elder fish talking. "The ocean is the source of all wisdom," one said. "To find the ocean is to find enlightenment," said the other. Riku's heart quickened with excitement. The ocean, of course, that must be what he'd been searching for. He'd always felt that something was missing, that there was some deeper truth he hadn't yet discovered. The ocean must be it. He swam to the elder fish immediately. "Excuse me," he said, trying to contain his excitement. "I couldn't help but overhear. Where can I find the ocean? How do I get there?" The two fish looked at each other, then at the small fish before them, then at each other again. One of them smiled with what might have been amusement or compassion or both. "Everywhere you look," the elder fish said. But Riku misunderstood. He thought the elder meant that the ocean could be reached from anywhere, not that he was already in it. So he swam away, determined to search until he found it. He swam to the deep trenches where giant creatures moved in darkness. "Is this the ocean?" he asked a passing shark. "This is just the deep," the shark replied, gliding past. "I don't know about any ocean." Riku swam to the warm shallows where light played through the water in golden shafts. "Is this the ocean?" he asked a sea turtle. "These are the shallows," the turtle said. "I've never heard of an ocean." He swam to the kelp forests, the open water, the tide pools. He asked countless fish, eels, crabs, and dolphins. None of them seemed to know about the ocean he sought. Some had never heard of it. Others dismissed it as a myth. A few said they'd heard of it but didn't know where to find it. Years passed. Riku grew older, more tired, more frustrated. He'd searched everywhere. He'd swum farther than any fish he knew. He'd asked every creature he'd met. And still, he hadn't found the ocean. Finally, exhausted and discouraged, he returned to the reef where he'd grown up. The same elder fish were there, now ancient, their scales faded, their movements slow. Riku approached them one last time. "I've spent my entire life searching for the ocean," he said. "I've traveled to every part of the world I could reach. I've asked everyone I've met, and I cannot find it. Does it even exist?" The ancient fish looked at him with the same gentle expression from years ago. "Tell me," one said, "what are you swimming in right now?" Riku paused, confused by the question. "I'm swimming in. Well, in water, of course." "And where did you swim when you were in the deep trenches?" "In water." "And in the shallows?" "In water." "And in all your travels, in all the places you've been, what were you always swimming in?" "Water," Riku said, beginning to feel something shift in his understanding. "The ocean is water," the elder fish said softly. "You have been swimming in the ocean your entire life. You were born in it. You have never left it. It is everywhere. It surrounds you, supports you, flows through your gills with every breath. You couldn't exist without it. And yet, you have spent your life searching for it, unable to see it because it is everywhere, because you are always already in it. Riku felt the truth of this land in him like light penetrating murky water. The ocean wasn't somewhere else. It wasn't something to find. He was in it. He'd always been in it. His entire search had been like searching for air while breathing. This story holds a teaching that Buddhism and Taoism have been trying to communicate for thousands of years. We live inside the Tao, the natural flow and order of existence, but we can't see it because it's everywhere. We're like the fish searching for water while swimming in it. We're looking for something we've never left. The Tao is not somewhere else. It's not hidden. It's not reserved for the enlightened or the special. It's the fabric of reality itself. It's the sun rising and setting. It's gravity. It's seasons changing. It's birth and death. It's the way water flows downhill. It's the pattern in tree branches and river deltas and your own veins. It's the silence beneath all sound. It's the stillness beneath all movement. But we don't see it. We look right through it. We're so busy searching for some special truth, some hidden wisdom, some secret knowledge that we completely miss the obvious truth that's so close we can't see it. We are already what we seek. We are already where we seek to go. We have never left the ocean. Think about your own life, your own searching. What are you looking for? Happiness, peace, meaning, purpose, love. And where have you been looking? In achievements, in relationships, in possessions, in experiences, in some future moment when things are finally different. What if what you seek has been with you all along? What if peace isn't something to achieve but something to recognize? What if meaning isn't something to create but something to notice? What if love isn't something to find but something to be? You are breathing. This is the Tao. Your heart is beating. This is the Tao. You are aware, conscious, experiencing this moment. This is the Tao. Everything is happening exactly as it happens, not because of some grand plan, but because this is how things happen. Cause and effect flowing like water. Patterns emerging like frost on a window. The whole universe expressing itself through every moment, including this one. But we're taught to believe that real life is somewhere else. That truth is hidden. That wisdom requires years of study and practice. That enlightenment is a destination we have to travel to reach. And so we search and search and search, like Riku swimming through the ocean looking for the ocean, unable to see that we're already immersed in what we seek. The ultimate truth is always here, disguised as the ordinary. It's not in some special experience. It's in the feeling of your breath moving in and out. It's in the sound of wind, the sight of light, the sensation of being alive. It's so obvious that we miss it completely. We're looking for something dramatic, something special, something that will prove to us that we've finally found it. But it's none of those things. It's just this. Just the simple fact of existence happening. The ancient teachers point to this in different ways. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. Nothing changes and everything changes. The wood was always wood. The water was always water. You were always in the ocean. But now you know it. Now you see it. Now you're aware that you've never been anywhere else. What you're looking for is looking through your eyes right now. What you're searching for is what's doing the searching. The ocean you seek is what you're swimming in. You can't find it because you've never lost it. You can't reach it because you're already there. You can't become it because you already are it. Stop searching. Just for this moment. Stop. Be here. Notice where you are. What is this moment made of? Sensation, sound, breath, awareness. This. Just this. Nothing special. Nothing extraordinary. Just the ordinary miracle of existence happening. The Tao expressing itself as your life. As this moment. As you. You are in the ocean. You always have been. You are the ocean. Look no further. The search is over. You've arrived at where you've always been. Rest in this knowing. Let it settle through you like sediment drifting down through clear water. You don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to become anything different. You're already here. You're already home. The ocean holds you, surrounds you, flows through you. It always has. Just breathe. Just be. Just this. The search is over. You're here. You've always been here. The ocean is everywhere, including right here, right now, in this breath. In this moment of settling into sleep, you are held by the Tao. You are part of the Tao. You are the Tao expressing itself as you. Rest in this. Sleep in this. Know this. You've never left. You've never been lost. You're exactly where you belong. Your breathing slows. Your body relaxes completely. The ocean rocks you gently, as it always has, as it always will. You are safe. You are home. You are here. Let sleep come now, like water covering you, like the ocean embracing one of its own. Just rest. Just this. Just now. You belong here. You always have. In ancient Japan, in a time long past, there lived a stonecutter named Takeshi who worked in the mountains above his village. Every day he would climb the narrow path to the quarry, carrying his heavy tools, and spend his hours cutting stone from the mountainside. It was hard work. His back ached by evening. His hands were calloused and rough, his simple clothes dusty with stone powder. But for many years, Takeshi was content. He took pride in his work, in the precise cuts he made, in the way his stones fit perfectly when the builders used them. He had a small house, simple food, and work that gave him purpose. His life was humble but sufficient, and he asked for nothing more. One day, Takeshi was commissioned to deliver stones to the mansion of a wealthy merchant. When he arrived, carrying the heavy stones on his back, he saw such luxury as he'd never imagined. The merchant sat in the shade of silk curtains while servants brought him cool drinks and fresh fruit. His clothes were made of the finest materials. His furniture was carved wood inlaid with mother of pearl. Everything shimmered with wealth and ease. As Takeshi set down his burden, his back screaming with pain, he looked at the merchant resting in comfort and thought, how much better his life is than mine. He never has to carry heavy stones. He never has to work in the hot sun or the cold rain. How I wish I could be a wealthy merchant like him. As soon as he spoke these words in his heart, something strange happened. He felt himself change, shift, transform. When he looked down at his hands, they were no longer rough and scarred, but soft and smooth. He wore silk robes. Servants surrounded him, attending to his every need. He had become the merchant. At first, Takeshi was overjoyed. This was so much better than cutting stone. He could rest whenever he wanted, eat whatever he desired, never lift anything heavy. But after some time, on a hot summer day, he noticed that despite his fine silk curtains and attentive servants with fans, he was still hot. The sun beat down mercilessly, and no amount of shade could fully protect him from its fierce heat. He looked up at the sun, blazing in the perfect blue sky, and thought, the sun is more powerful than a wealthy merchant. It can make even the richest man uncomfortable. How I wish I could be the sun, more powerful than anything on earth. And immediately, he transformed again. He became the sun, blazing in the sky, pouring his heat down on all the earth below. He scorched the fields, made people seek shelter, commanded the day with his fierce light. This was true power. But then clouds began to gather, thick and dark, blocking his light. No matter how fiercely he shone, he could not penetrate these clouds. They moved across his face, obscuring his power, making the earth below cool and shadowed. The clouds are more powerful than the sun, he realized. They can block even my light. How I wish I could be a cloud, more powerful than the sun itself. And he became a cloud, dark and heavy with rain. He drifted across the sky, blocking the sun's light, bringing rain to the earth below. He could drench entire villages, fill rivers to overflowing, make everyone seek shelter from his downpour. Such power. But then the wind began to blow. It pushed him roughly across the sky, tearing him apart, scattering his rain. No matter how he tried to resist, the wind moved him where it wished, breaking him into smaller clouds, driving him before its force. The wind is more powerful than the clouds, he thought. It can push even the storm wherever it wants. How I wish I could be the wind, more powerful than anything. And he became the wind, howling across the land, bending trees, stirring up waves on the sea, pushing clouds across the sky. Nothing could stand against him. This was ultimate power. But then he encountered something that would not move. A mountain. No matter how hard he blew, no matter how fiercely he hurled himself against the mountain's face, it stood unmoved. Solid. Immovable. Eternal. The mountain is more powerful than the wind, he realized. It cannot be moved or changed. How I wish I could be a mountain, the most powerful thing in the world. And he became the mountain, solid, massive, immovable. The wind could not budge him. The rain could not wash him away. The sun could not burn him. He stood eternal and unchanging. At last, he had found true power. But then he heard a sound he knew well. Tap, tap, tap. The sound of a hammer on a chisel. The sound of stone being cut. He looked down at his base and saw a man there, a stonecutter, cutting away at the mountain, removing pieces of it bit by bit, shaping it to his will. And Takeshi understood. The stonecutter was more powerful than the mountain. With patience and skill, the humble stonecutter could reshape even the mightiest mountain. I wish to be a stonecutter again, he thought. And immediately, he found himself back in his own body, holding his hammer and chisel, standing before the mountain he had been cutting stone from for years. But something had changed. Not his circumstances, those were exactly as they had been. But his understanding. He looked at his rough hands, his simple tools, his small life, and he realized that he had always been exactly where he needed to be. The power he'd been seeking through all those transformations had been with him all along. Not the power to dominate or control, but the power to create, to work with his hands, to shape stone into something useful and beautiful. He picked up his tools and returned to his work, content at last. This ancient story speaks directly to our modern condition. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough, that we need more money, more status, more power, more success, that happiness exists in the next achievement, the next promotion, the next milestone. If we just had what that other person has, then we'd finally be satisfied. But notice what happens to Takeshi. Every transformation brings temporary satisfaction followed quickly by discontent. When he becomes the merchant, he discovers that wealth can't protect him from the sun's heat. When he becomes the sun, he finds that clouds can block his light. Each new form of power reveals its own limitation, its own vulnerability, leading to the desire for something more powerful still. This is the endless cycle of desire. Get what you want, enjoy it briefly, then notice its limitations and want something else. Achieve your goal, feel satisfied for a moment, then set your sights on a new goal. No amount of external change brings lasting contentment because the problem isn't external, it's internal. It's the mind that constantly compares, constantly wants, constantly believes that satisfaction lives somewhere other than here. Think about your own desires. That job you wanted so badly, did getting it bring lasting happiness? Or did you soon start thinking about the next promotion? That relationship you longed for, did it bring permanent contentment? Or did new problems and dissatisfactions emerge? That possession you had to have, did owning it finally satisfy you? Or are you now eyeing the next thing? We're all like Takeshi, going through transformations, new jobs, new relationships, new homes, new appearances, new achievements, believing that the next change will finally be the one that brings lasting happiness. But lasting happiness doesn't come from changing circumstances. It comes from realizing we are already enough, right now, exactly as we are. The stonecutter discovers that his original position, the one he was so eager to escape, actually held everything he needed. Not because his life was perfect, but because real satisfaction comes from accepting and fully inhabiting your actual life rather than constantly wishing it were different. The power he sought through domination, he already possessed through skillful work and presence. This doesn't mean we should never change anything or that we shouldn't work to improve our circumstances. But it means recognizing that no external change will fix the internal dissatisfaction that comes from constantly wanting to be someone or somewhere else. Changing circumstances won't change the mind. Only training the mind changes the mind. What would it be like to stop wanting to be somewhere else, someone else, something else? What if you fully accepted your life exactly as it is right now? Not as giving up on growth or change, but as ending the exhausting cycle of believing happiness is always one transformation away. To be the stonecutter and know that the stonecutter is exactly enough. Desire is endless. Changing circumstances won't change the mind. You could have everything the world offers and still be unsatisfied if your mind is trained in dissatisfaction. Or you could have very little and be deeply content if your mind is trained in contentment. The question is not what you have, but how you relate to what you have. Not where you are, but whether you can be present where you are. Happiness comes from realizing we are already enough. Not because we've achieved enough or acquired enough or become enough, but because the whole search for enough was misguided from the beginning. You were always enough. Your life was always enough. The stonecutter was always exactly as powerful as he needed to be. What are you constantly wishing were different about your life? Your body, your relationships, your work, your financial situation, your status. Notice how this constant wishing prevents you from fully living the life you actually have. You're always halfway somewhere else. Never quite here, never quite present, never quite accepting that this, exactly this, is your actual life. The stonecutter returns to cutting stone. Nothing external has changed, but everything internal has shifted. He's the same person doing the same work in the same place, but now he's free from the exhausting cycle of wanting to be something else. Free to be fully present to his actual life. Free to find satisfaction in skillful work rather than in some fantasy of power. That's the teaching. Stop transforming. Stop becoming. Just be. Be the stonecutter. Be yourself. Be here. Be now. This is it. This is your life. Not the one you wish you had. Not the one you're working toward. Not the one that person over there seems to have. This one. Yours. Exactly as it is. And in accepting this, truly accepting it, not as resignation but as a choice to fully inhabit your actual existence, you discover the contentment you've been seeking through all those wished-for transformations. You were always enough. Your life was always enough. You were just too busy wanting something else to notice. Rest in this. Let the endless cycle of wanting slow and stop. You are enough. This moment is enough. This life, with all its imperfections and limitations, is enough. You are already home. You were never anywhere else. Just breathe. Just be. Just this. The stonecutter returns to his work, content at last. And you can return to your life, content at last. Not because everything is perfect, because everything is exactly as it is. And that's enough. Your breathing deepens. Your body releases its grip. All the wanting, all the wishing to be somewhere else, someone else, let it go. Just be here. Just be you. Just be. That's enough. That's everything. That's peace. Sleep now. Content. The transformations end. The searching stops. You're here. You've always been here. And here is exactly where you belong. Rest. 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 In the ancient monasteries of China, there was a student named Tenno who studied diligently under various teachers. He practiced meditation, memorized sutras, learned Buddhist philosophy, and mastered the formal rituals of monastic life. After many years of study, he finally received certification as a teacher, a formal acknowledgement that he had completed his training and could now teach others. Tenno was proud of this achievement. He had worked hard for it, devoted years to earning it. The certificate was beautiful, written in elegant calligraphy on fine paper, bearing the seals of his teachers. He carried it carefully in his traveling case as he set out to find his own place to teach. His journey took him to the monastery of Master Nanin, who was renowned throughout the region for his wisdom and directness. Tenno had heard many stories of this master and was eager to meet him, perhaps to learn one final teaching before establishing his own teaching practice. It was raining when Tenno arrived at the monastery, a soft summer rain that made everything smell of wet earth and growing things. He removed his shoes and umbrella at the entrance, as was customary, and was led to Master Nanin's room. The master greeted him warmly, inviting him to sit for tea. They talked pleasantly about Tenno's journey, about the teachings he had studied, about his plans for the future. Tenno made sure to mention, humbly but clearly, that he was now a certified teacher, that he had completed his training successfully. After some time, Master Nanin asked a simple question. "I see you arrived during the rain. Tell me, when you removed your umbrella and shoes at the entrance, did you place your umbrella to the left or right of your shoes?" Tenno paused. He tried to remember. Had he placed the umbrella to the left or to the right? It had only been minutes ago, but he realized with growing discomfort that he had no idea. He had done it automatically, without attention, his mind already focused on meeting the master, on making a good impression, on the conversation to come. I don't remember, Master," he admitted. Master Nanin nodded slowly, taking a sip of his tea. The silence stretched out, not uncomfortable but somehow penetrating. "You have studied for many years," the master finally said. "You have received certification as a teacher. You can recite sutras from memory. You understand Buddhist philosophy. You know all the proper forms and rituals. This is good. This is valuable." He poured more tea into Tenno's cup with careful attention. "But enlightenment is not knowledge, Tenno. It is not something you can memorize from books or receive as a certificate. Enlightenment is awareness in every small moment. It is presence in simple actions. It is knowing where you placed your umbrella because you were fully there when you placed it." Tenno felt his pride deflate like a punctured balloon. He had thought himself accomplished, ready to teach others. But he couldn't remember something as simple as where he'd placed his umbrella moments ago. What did all his knowledge matter if he wasn't present for his own life? "The path is not about accumulating knowledge," Master Nanin continued gently. "It is about waking up to each moment as it happens. A truly aware person would know where they placed their umbrella because they would have been fully present when placing it. Not because they tried to remember, but because they were actually there." He smiled at Tenno with compassion. "You have learned much. Now learn to be present for the small moments. That is where true practice lives. Not in the grand teachings and formal ceremonies, but in placing your umbrella, in drinking your tea, in taking each step. When you can do these small things with complete awareness, then your certification will have real meaning. This teaching reaches across centuries to confront something we all struggle with. We confuse knowledge with wisdom, information with understanding, credentials with actual capability. We live in a world that values certifications, degrees, titles, credentials. We accumulate facts, master concepts, earn acknowledgements of our expertise, and we begin to believe that this accumulation means we've truly learned something. But knowing about something is not the same as embodying it. You can know everything about meditation without ever being truly present. You can study philosophy without ever living philosophically. You can memorize teachings about mindfulness while being completely unaware of your own life as it's actually happening. Think about your own life, your own expertise. Maybe you know a lot about healthy eating but eat unconsciously in front of the TV. Maybe you understand the importance of being present but spend most of your time lost in thought. Maybe you've read books about mindfulness but can't remember if you locked your car, turned off the stove, or where you put your keys 5 minutes ago. This is the gap between knowledge and actual practice, between understanding a concept and living it, between being able to talk about presence and actually being present. The test isn't what you know, it's whether you were actually there when you placed your umbrella. Enlightenment isn't knowledge, it's presence in small actions. It's not about having profound insights or understanding complex philosophy. It's about being fully aware when you're putting on your shoes, when you're setting down a cup, when you're opening a door. These tiny moments, these absolutely ordinary actions, this is where real awareness lives. We want spirituality to be grand and impressive. We want enlightenment to feel like a dramatic transformation. But the masters keep pointing to the same simple truth. It's in the details. It's in whether you're actually present for your own life as it unfolds in 1,000 tiny moments each day. Consider your morning routine. Do you remember brushing your teeth today? Not the fact that you did it, but the actual experience of it. The taste of the toothpaste, the sensation of the brush, the water in your mouth. Or were you already gone, thinking about your day, running through your to-do list, completely absent from the simple act you were performing? This is what Master Nanin is pointing to. You can know everything about Zen and still be asleep to your own life. You can have all the credentials in the world and still be unconscious through most of your moments. True mindfulness means being fully aware in every small act. Where is your mind right now? As you listen to these words, are you fully here? Or is part of you planning, worrying, remembering, wandering? This moment, right now, are you in it? Or are you like Tenno, going through the motions while your attention is somewhere else entirely? The practice isn't complicated. It doesn't require years of study or special training or certification. It requires only that you wake up to what you're doing while you're doing it. That you place your umbrella with attention. That you know you're drinking tea while drinking tea. That you walk mindfully when walking. Sit mindfully when sitting. Live fully in each moment as it arrives. But simple doesn't mean easy. Try it. Try being fully present for the next thing you do, standing up, walking to another room, picking up a cup. Notice how quickly your mind wanders. Notice how it wants to be anywhere but here, doing anything but this simple action. Notice how much of your life passes by while you're mentally somewhere else. Master Nanin's question wasn't a trick. It was an invitation to look honestly at whether you're actually living your life or just going through it on autopilot. Present in theory, but absent in practice. The umbrella is a small thing. But if you're not present for small things, you're not present. And if you're not present, what does all your knowledge matter? This is humbling. Tenno had spent years studying, had earned his certification, had mastered so much. And a simple question about where he placed his umbrella revealed that he still hadn't learned the most basic lesson: be here now. Not be here now in theory. Actually be here now. Where did you place your umbrella? Your keys? Your phone? Your attention? Are you here, right now, in this moment? Or are you already somewhere else, thinking about tomorrow, worrying about yesterday, planning the next thing, missing this thing. Come back. Just for this breath. Just for this moment. Be here. Not perfectly. Not permanently. Just now. Just this. Notice where you are. Notice what you're doing. Notice what you're experiencing. That's the practice. That's the teaching. That's enlightenment in its most basic, accessible form. Not someday when you're more advanced. Not after you've learned enough or meditated enough or become enlightened enough. Now, in this ordinary moment, with these ordinary sensations, in this ordinary life that is actually your one and only life, your umbrella is where you left it. The question is, were you there when you left it? Are you here now? Can you be? Rest in this awareness. You don't need to know everything. You don't need more credentials. You don't need to become more enlightened. You only need to be present. Right here. Right now. In this moment of settling, of breathing, of being. Let everything else go. The knowledge, the credentials, the pride in accomplishment. Just be here. Feel your body. Notice your breath. Be present to this moment of transition into sleep. This is the practice. This is enough. Sleep comes for those who are present to receive it. Let yourself be here for it. Let yourself sink into this moment fully. Nothing to prove. Nothing to know. Just this. Just now. Just being. Just awareness. Just rest. Your mind grows quiet. Your body releases. Be here for it. Be here for you. Be here. Just here. Just this. Just now. In ancient Japan, there lived a samurai named Nobushige, who was known throughout the land for his skill with the sword and his fierce dedication to the warrior's code. He had fought in many battles, commanded respect from other warriors, and lived his life according to the principles of honor and duty. But something troubled him deeply. He wanted to understand the nature of heaven and hell. He had heard that these were real places, realms that existed beyond this world. And he had heard of a Zen master named Hakuin who possessed deep wisdom about such things. So Nobushige decided to visit this master, to finally get answers to questions that had haunted him for years. He traveled to the small temple where Master Hakuin lived, arriving in full armor, his sword hanging at his side, a magnificent weapon that had taken many lives. The temple was simple, peaceful, filled with the quiet sounds of wind chimes and distant birdsong. The samurai's heavy footsteps on the wooden floor seemed too loud in this gentle place. Master Hakuin was in the garden, an old man in simple robes, tending to a small vegetable patch. He looked up as the samurai approached but didn't rise, didn't bow, didn't show any particular deference to this warrior who commanded such respect everywhere else. "I am Nobushige, a samurai," the warrior announced, used to these words, carrying weight. "I have come to ask you about heaven and hell. Do they exist? Where are they? How does one reach heaven and avoid hell?" Master Hakuin looked at him for a long moment, then returned his attention to pulling weeds from around a row of radishes. "You," the master said dismissively, not even looking up. "You're a samurai. You look more like a beggar in costume to me. Your armor is dull. Your sword probably couldn't cut through bamboo. and your questions are those of a child. Heaven and hell. You should be asking where to find a better teacher, since clearly the ones you've had have taught you nothing. Nobushige felt heat rise in his face. His hand moved instinctively toward his sword. How dare this old man speak to him this way? He was a samurai. He commanded troops. Men bowed before him. And this ragged gardener in a cheap robe had the audacity to insult him. You dare speak to me like this? Nobushige's voice was tight with rage. I could cut you down where you stand. I could, with what? Hakuin interrupted, still not looking up. That rusty blade. I've seen better weapons in a merchant's shop. You're no samurai. You're a fool dressed up in borrowed armor, pretending to be something you're not. You want to know about heaven and hell. You wouldn't recognize either if you fell into them. You're too stupid, too crude, too consumed with your own false pride to understand anything beyond eating and sleeping and swinging that pathetic sword around. Something snapped in Nobushige. His hand flew to his sword, drawing it in one fluid motion. The blade sang as it left its scabbard, a sound he'd heard hundreds of times before battle. He raised it high above his head, ready to bring it down on this insolent old man who had gone too far, who had pushed past every limit, who deserved to die for such disrespect. Here open the gates of hell, Master Hakuin said calmly, looking up at last, meeting the samurai's furious eyes with perfect equanimity. Nobushige froze, the sword suspended above him. The rage that had been boiling through his body suddenly broke like a wave against a rock. He saw it clearly, how quickly he had gone from seeking wisdom to preparing to murder an old man. How easily the master's words had unlocked something violent and dark within him. How he had been about to throw away his honor, his principles, his very soul because of words. Words. This was hell. Not some distant realm of fire and demons. But this state of consuming rage, this loss of control, this darkness that could make him kill over insults. Hell was right here, in his own heart, in his own mind, in his own uncontrolled reaction. His sword arm trembled. Slowly, he lowered the blade. Shame washed over him, shame at how easily he'd been manipulated, how quickly he'd lost himself. He looked at the master's calm face and understood. This had been a teaching, a demonstration. Master Hakuin smiled then, a gentle expression filled with compassion. And here open the gates of heaven, he said softly. In that moment of recognition, of seeing clearly what he'd almost done, of understanding his own nature, of choosing to lower the sword, that was heaven. Not some distant reward after death, but this awareness, this self-knowledge, this moment of choosing wisdom over violence, understanding over reaction. Heaven was right here too, in the same heart that had held hell moments before. Nobushige sheathed his sword with shaking hands. He bowed deeply to the master, who had risked his life to teach him this profound truth. No words passed between them. None were needed. The lesson was complete. This ancient story cuts through layers of religious teaching to reveal something essential about the human experience. We think of heaven and hell as places, locations we go to after death based on how we've lived. Good people go to heaven. Bad people go to hell. We imagine them as external realities, separate from our daily lives, waiting for us in some distant future. But Master Hakuin reveals a different truth. Heaven and hell are inner states, created by our reactions. They're not somewhere we go, they're something we create, moment by moment, through how we respond to what life presents. Hell opened its gates in the samurai's mind the instant he let insult trigger rage. Heaven opened its gates the instant he chose awareness over action. Think about the times you've been in hell. Not a literal hell, but that inner state of consuming anger, bitter resentment, jealous rage, vengeful fury. Remember how it felt. The heat in your chest, the tightness in your jaw, the way your body tensed, ready for violence, physical or verbal. The way time seemed to stop, your entire awareness narrowing to this person who wronged you, this situation that shouldn't have happened, this injustice that demands retribution. That's hell. And notice, it wasn't caused by the external situation. It was caused by your reaction to the situation. Master Hakuin insulted Nobushige. Yes, but millions of people are insulted every day without drawing swords. The insult was simply the match. The hell was in how readily the samurai's mind burst into flames. This is both humbling and empowering. Humbling because we can't blame hell on external circumstances. It's not other people creating hell for us, it's our own uncontrolled reactions. But empowering because if we create hell, we can also stop creating it. We have that power. Not over what happens to us, but over how we respond to what happens. Consider the last time someone really made you angry. Maybe they cut you off in traffic. Maybe they dismissed your idea in a meeting. Maybe they forgot something important or said something hurtful. Feel the memory of that anger. Notice how it wasn't their action that created your suffering, it was your reaction. The moment when anger opens, the gates of hell happens entirely inside you. And here's the profound part. You opened those gates. Not intentionally, not consciously, but you opened them. The anger arose and you welcomed it in. You fed it. You let it consume you. You replayed the offense. You imagined what you should have said. You fantasized about revenge. You told the story to others, stoking the flames each time. You created and maintained your own hell. But, and this is where heaven appears, awareness opens heaven. The moment Nobushige became aware of what he was doing, hell closed and heaven opened. Not because the situation changed. Not because the master apologized or took back the insults, but because consciousness itself transforms the experience. When you're caught in rage, you're unconscious. You're possessed. The emotion has taken over and you've become it. But the moment you see the rage, notice the rage, become aware that you're angry in that instant, space opens up. You're no longer the anger. You're the awareness that sees the anger. And in that space, choice becomes possible. Hell loses its grip. This is what Master Hakuin demonstrated. Heaven and hell aren't rewards and punishments doled out by some cosmic judge. They're states of mind we move in and out of countless times each day. Every time you lose yourself in anger, fear, resentment, jealousy, or hatred, the gates of hell open. Every time you wake up to what you're doing, see clearly. Choose awareness over reaction. The gates of heaven open. Right now, in this moment, which gates are open? Are you peaceful, aware, present? Or are you churning with some resentment, some worry, some judgment? Notice that you have the power to close one and open the other, not by forcing yourself to feel differently, but by becoming aware of what you're actually feeling. The samurai was moments from murder. That's how deep hell goes. But one moment of awareness changed everything. Your hells might be smaller, more socially acceptable. The hell of chronic irritation, the hell of constant anxiety, the hell of endless self-criticism, the hell of comparing yourself to others. These may not lead to murder, but they create real suffering. And they persist because you keep opening those gates, keep feeding those states, keep unconsciously choosing to live in hell. But you can stop right now, not by forcing different emotions, but by simply seeing what's happening. Awareness itself is the key that opens heaven's gates. Just seeing the anger diffuses it. Just noticing the anxiety gives you space from it. Just recognizing the judgment lets you choose something else. Heaven and hell are in your own mind, not metaphorically, literally. You create them with your reactions, sustain them with your attention, and can dissolve them with awareness. The power is yours. It always has been. You just haven't known you have it. Master Hakuin risked his life to teach this truth. He goaded a trained killer into murderous rage, knowing that only by experiencing hell directly could the samurai understand where hell actually exists. And then, by pointing to that very moment of awareness when Nobushige lowered his sword, the master showed where heaven exists too. Same person, same moment, same temple garden, but two completely different inner worlds, hell and heaven available instantly, depending only on the state of awareness. This is the teaching. This is the truth. This is your power. Where are you right now? Which gates are open? And do you see that you hold the key to both? Rest in this awareness. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to never get angry. You only have to wake up when you do. Notice it. See it. That noticing is heaven opening. That awareness is the gate swinging wide. Let your body soften now. Let any hellish states worry, tension, self-judgment simply be seen. Don't fight them. Don't force them away. Just see them. And in that seeing, feel heaven's gates crack open. Not dramatically, just a little space, a little light, a little peace. Your breath continues. Gentle, steady. Heaven and hell are both in your mind, and your mind is learning to recognize them both, to choose which gates to open, to rest in the awareness that can hold both without being consumed by either. Sleep comes now like heaven's gate opening slowly. Let it come. Let yourself pass through into rest. You are safe. You are aware. You are choosing peace. Just this. Just now. Just breathing. Just being. Just heaven opening. Soft as dawn. Quiet as this settling into sleep. Your breathing slows. Your mind grows still. The gates of heaven are open now. Step through. Just rest. Just peace. Just this gentle knowing that you are held. You are safe. You are home. Deep in the mountains of China, there lived a warrior named Teshu, who was as skilled with the sword as any man alive. But despite his prowess in combat, he felt something missing in his practice. He had heard of a Zen master named Dokuon who understood the warrior's path in ways that went beyond technique, beyond strategy, beyond even victory and defeat. Teshu traveled to Master Dokuon's monastery and was granted an audience. The master sat in a simple room, no decorations except a single scroll on the wall. "Master," Teshu began, bowing respectfully, "I have studied the sword for many years. I have learned from the greatest teachers. I have read all the texts on strategy and combat. I understand the way of the warrior. I know that life is impermanent, that death can come at any moment, that I must be prepared to die without fear or regret. This is the truth at the heart of the warrior's path. Is it not?" Master Dokuon looked at him for a long moment. "Show me this understanding," he said simply. Teshu drew himself up. He recited passages from the warrior texts. He spoke eloquently about non-attachment, about the importance of facing death without fear, about how the greatest warriors were those who had transcended the fear of dying. His words were precise, his understanding clear. He had studied well. When he finished, Master Dokuon was silent. Then he stood and walked to a low table where a pot of hot tea sat brewing. He poured a cup and held it out to Teshu. "Drink," he said. Teshu took the cup, bringing it toward his lips. But just as he was about to drink, Master Dokuon suddenly struck the cup from his hand. It shattered on the floor, hot tea splashing everywhere. Teshu jumped back, startled, his hand instinctively moving toward his sword. Master Dokuon smiled. "Ah," he said. "Not ready to die after all. I see." Your body jumped back. Your hand reached for your weapon. Your heart raced. For all your talk about accepting death, you cling to life just like anyone else. Teshu felt his face burn with shame. The master was right. For all his intellectual understanding, his body had reacted with pure survival instinct. He had spoken beautifully about transcending fear of death. But when surprised, when faced with even the small shock of a breaking cup, his true nature had shown through. Words and understanding are not the same thing. You have memorized teachings about death, Master Dokuon said gently. You can recite them perfectly. But memorizing words is like a parrot repeating sounds it doesn't understand. True understanding lives in your bones, in your reflexes, in how you respond without thinking. Come back when your understanding is real, not just repeated. Teshu left, humbled. For years after, he continued his practice, not just reading texts, but actually sitting with death, meditating on impermanence, training his mind and body together to truly embody what he had only spoken about before. When he returned to Master Dokuon many years later, he simply sat down and waited. The master poured tea again and made the same sudden movement. This time, Teshu didn't flinch. He didn't reach for his sword. He sat calmly as the cup shattered, a slight smile on his face. Now you understand, Master Dokuon said. This story illuminates the vast difference between knowing something and actually embodying it. We live in a world drowning in information. We can learn anything, read books, watch videos, take courses, memorize facts. We accumulate knowledge like currency, believing that if we know enough about something, we understand it. But knowledge and understanding are not the same thing. You can know everything about swimming without being able to swim. You can memorize all the teachings about peace without having any peace in your heart. You can speak eloquently about non-attachment while being completely attached. The words are easy, The actual transformation is hard. Think about what you know versus what you actually live. Maybe you know you should be more patient, but you snap at your children. Maybe you know exercise is important, but you don't do it. Maybe you know worrying doesn't help, but you worry anyway. Maybe you know you should be present, but you're constantly lost in thought. The gap between knowing and doing is where most of us actually live. This is what Master Dokuan exposed in Teshu. The warrior had studied the teachings. He could recite them perfectly. He believed he understood them. But when tested, when surprised, his body revealed the truth. He didn't actually embody what he claimed to understand. It was all in his head, not in his being. We do this constantly. We confuse intellectual understanding with genuine realization. We read a book about mindfulness and think we're now mindful. We learn about compassion and think we're compassionate. We memorize teachings about letting go and think we've let go. But then life tests us something small, unexpected, and our actual level of integration becomes clear. We react just like we always have, revealing that all that knowledge hasn't actually transformed us. The difference between authentic realization and mere repetition of gathered words is this. Authentic realization changes your entire being. It's not something you know, it's something you are. When Teshu finally returned, his understanding had moved from his head to his body, from concept to reality. He didn't have to think about not flinching. He simply didn't flinch. The teaching had become him. This is what practice is actually for. Not to accumulate more information, but to integrate what we already know. To close the gap between what we understand intellectually and how we actually live. To train our bodies, our emotions, our reflexes, not just our minds, so that wisdom becomes automatic, natural, real. How many teachings have you memorized without embodying? How many insights have you had without really changing? How much wisdom do you carry in your head that hasn't made it to your heart, your hands, your daily life? This isn't a criticism, it's the human condition. We all do this. We're all like Teshu in that first meeting, eloquent about truths we haven't fully integrated. The question is, what would it take to move from knowing to being? Not more information, not more teachings, but more practice, more attention to the gap between what you say you believe and how you actually respond when tested. More honesty about where you're still just repeating words you've gathered rather than living truths you've realized. When Master Dokuan broke that cup, he wasn't being cruel. He was offering a gift, the gift of seeing clearly. Teshu thought he understood, but he didn't. The shock revealed this, and that revelation, as uncomfortable as it was, pointed him toward real practice. Not reading more books, but actually doing the work of transformation until understanding became embodiment. What would break your cup? What small test would reveal the gap between what you claim to understand and what you actually embody? Maybe it's patience. You talk about being patient, but the moment someone makes you wait, you're irritated. Maybe it's non-judgment. You speak about accepting everyone, but you judge constantly. Maybe it's presence, the importance of being here now, but you're almost never actually here. These gaps aren't failures. They're simply honest assessments of where you actually are versus where you think you are. And that honesty is essential, because only when you see the gap can you work to close it. Only when you recognize you've been repeating words without understanding them can you begin the real work of integration. Master Dokuon trains the samurai to embody truth, not just speak it. Years of practice. Years of sitting with death, not just talking about it. Years of training the body and mind together until the understanding moved from concept to reflex, from knowing to being, until he could sit calmly while a cup shattered, not because he forced himself to be calm, but because he genuinely was calm. The truth had become him. That's the path. Not more knowledge. Integration. Not more teachings. Embodiment. Not gathering more words. Becoming the truth those words point to. Where are you gathering words but not embodying truth? Where are you a parrot repeating sounds without understanding? And are you willing to practice, really practice, until the words become you? Rest in this recognition. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have embodied everything. But you can be honest about where you are. You can see the gap. And you can practice today, tomorrow, for years, until understanding becomes being, until words become truth, until you are what you've been talking about. Let your body settle now. Let the words you've heard tonight sink deeper than your mind. Let them find their way into your cells, your breath, your very being. Not as concepts to memorize, as truths to embody. As you sleep, let integration happen at levels deeper than thought. Your breathing slows. Your mind grows quiet. The teachings settle into you like rain into earth. Not as information, as transformation. Slowly, naturally, real. Sleep now. Let the words go. Let understanding come not through thinking but through being. Let yourself rest so deeply that when you wake, something has shifted. Not dramatically. Just a little more alignment between what you know and who you are. A little less gap. A little more truth. Just this. Just breathing. Just being. Just slowly, gently becoming what you've always known. The journey from knowing to being takes time. Rest now. Practice tomorrow. Be patient. Be honest. Be real. Your body grows heavy. Your mind releases. The transformation continues in sleep, in silence, in the deep places where real change happens. Trust it. Rest in it. You are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what needs to be done. Just breathing. Just being. Just slowly becoming true. Sleep. Rest. Be. The cup will shatter again tomorrow, and the next day, and the next. Each time, you'll see more clearly where you are, where you're going, how far you've come. That's enough. That's the path. That's real. Rest now. The words become you while you sleep. Let yourself become what you've been learning. Slowly, surely, real. Near a small farming village in ancient China, there lived a man named Koji who raised horses. He owned only a few animals, but they were strong and well trained, and he made a modest living selling them to merchants and farmers. His life was simple, and he was content with what he had. One day, his best horse, a magnificent stallion that was worth more than all his other horses combined, broke through the fence and ran off into the mountains. Gone. Just like that. When Koji's neighbors heard about this, they came to his house to offer their sympathy. Such terrible luck, they said, shaking their heads. Your finest horse. Lost. What will you do? How unfortunate. What bad fortune has befallen you? Koji looked at them calmly and said simply, maybe. The neighbors were puzzled by this response but eventually went home. They thought perhaps the loss had affected Koji's mind. Anyone else would be devastated. But he just said, maybe. A week later, the stallion returned. And he didn't come back alone. He brought with him a dozen wild horses from the mountains, beautiful, strong animals that Koji could now train and sell. His fortune had suddenly multiplied many times over. The neighbors came back, this time to congratulate him. How wonderful, they exclaimed. What amazing luck. Your horse came back and brought others with him. You're rich now. What incredible fortune. Koji listened to their excitement and said simply, maybe. Again, the neighbors were confused. This was clearly good fortune. But Koji remained unmoved by their judgment. He accepted what had happened without labeling it good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate. The next week, Koji's son was training one of the wild horses. The horse was strong-willed, not yet broken to human handling. It threw the young man from its back. He hit the ground hard and broke his leg. The break was severe, requiring months of recovery. The son, who had been Koji's main helper with the horses, could no longer work. The neighbors returned once more with sympathy. Such bad luck, they said. Your son, injured, his leg broken. Now you have no help with all these horses. What a terrible turn of events. What misfortune. Koji looked at his son, resting with his splintered leg. He looked at the neighbors. Maybe, he said. The neighbors left, thinking Koji either foolish or in denial. A broken leg was clearly bad luck. But Koji continued his work, caring for both the horses and his recovering son, accepting things as they were without rushing to judgment. A month later, the army came to the village. The emperor had declared war against a neighboring kingdom and was conscripting all able-bodied young men to fight. Officers went from house to house, taking sons away from their families. Most would never return. War in those days was brutal, deadly. To be conscripted was essentially a death sentence. They came to Koji's house and saw his son lying there, his leg still healing, unable to walk properly, much less march and fight. They passed him by and moved on to the next house. The neighbors came again, but this time they were somber. Their own sons had been taken. They looked at Koji's son with his broken leg and finally understood. How fortunate, they said quietly. His broken leg saved his life. What good luck that he was injured. What blessing has come from that misfortune? Koji looked at them with the same calm expression. Maybe, he said. This ancient Taoist story strikes at something deep in how we relate to life. We are constantly judging everything that happens as either good or bad, fortunate or unfortunate, blessing or curse. We label events the instant they occur, certain we know what they mean, convinced we understand their significance. But do we? Think about your own life. Events you were certain were terrible at the time, but that led to something wonderful. Jobs you didn't get, that pushed you toward better opportunities. Relationships that ended painfully but freed you to find healthier love. Plans that fell through, redirecting you to where you actually needed to be. At the time, these felt like disasters. But were they? And the reverse, things you were certain were blessings that turned out to bring unexpected complications. The big promotion that destroyed your work-life balance. The house you wanted so badly that became a financial burden. The relationship you thought was perfect but that slowly revealed itself as wrong for you. At the time, you celebrated. But should you have? We don't know. We can't know. Life is too complex, too interconnected, unfolding across too much time for us to judge any single event in isolation. What looks like good fortune might set up future suffering. What looks like disaster might plant seeds of blessing. We simply don't have the perspective to judge accurately. This is the wisdom of maybe. Not as uncertainty or indecisiveness, but as humble recognition that we can't see the full picture. That judging something as absolutely good or absolutely bad is premature. That labeling an event is often just projecting our current limited understanding onto a reality far more complex than we grasp. The neighbors in the story represent how most of us move through life. Constantly judging. Constantly certain. Celebrating and commiserating with total conviction that we know what events mean. But they're wrong every time. What they declare terrible turns out to enable something good. What they declare wonderful sets up future pain. They're completely certain and completely mistaken, over and over again. Koji, in contrast, remains steady. He doesn't get swept up in the emotional turbulence of labeling events. When the horse runs away, he doesn't spiral into despair about his terrible luck. When the horses multiply, he doesn't inflate with pride about his good fortune. When his son breaks his leg, he doesn't rage against the universe. When his son is spared from war, he doesn't gloat about being blessed. He simply says maybe and continues living. This isn't coldness or lack of feeling. It's wisdom. It's recognizing that every event is part of a much larger unfolding that he cannot fully see. That what matters is not judging events but responding to them with presence and appropriate action. The horse is gone, okay. Strengthen the fence. The horses multiply, okay. Begin training them. His son is injured, okay. Help him heal. His son is spared from war, okay. Be grateful and continue the work. End the cycle of endless wanting and labeling. We want good things to happen and we want to avoid bad things. But half the time we can't even accurately identify which is which. We chase what we think is good and run from what we think is bad, exhausting ourselves in this constant pursuit and avoidance, when we don't actually know what serves our highest good. What if you stopped labeling events so quickly? What if, when something happened that your mind immediately wants to call terrible, you just said maybe instead? Not as denial, as humility, as recognition that you don't actually know how this will unfold, what it will lead to, what it will become part of. You don't have to celebrate it. You don't have to pretend you're happy about it. But you also don't have to spiral into despair based on your limited understanding of what it means. The same with so-called good fortune. When something happens that seems wonderful, can you hold it lightly? Can you appreciate it without grasping? Celebrate it without attachment? Enjoy it without creating a story about how blessed you are? Because you don't know. You don't know what this good thing will set in motion. Maybe it is good. Maybe. This is immensely freeing. It takes you off the emotional roller coaster of constantly judging and reacting to events. You can respond without the drama of labeling. You can act without the burden of believing you know what things mean. You can live with a kind of humble agnosticism about whether what's happening is ultimately good or bad for you, trusting that life is more complex and wise than your snap judgments. Koji's maybe is not passive acceptance of everything. He still acts. He still works. He still cares for his son and his horses. But he acts from presence and necessity, not from emotional reactivity to his own judgments about events. He doesn't waste energy celebrating or mourning, inflating or deflating based on his limited understanding. He just lives, steadily, presently, wisely. What events in your life are you still judging? That rejection you received, that opportunity you missed, that relationship that ended, that diagnosis you got, that loss you suffered. You've labeled them good or bad, blessing or curse. But do you actually know? Do you know how they fit into the much larger story of your life? Do you know what they made possible that couldn't have happened otherwise? Do you know what they prevented that would have led to greater suffering? You don't. None of us do. Life is too vast, too interconnected, too mysterious for us to judge any single event with certainty. So maybe, just maybe, you could hold your judgments more lightly. Could say maybe more often. Could recognize that your perspective is limited and your labels are premature. The horse that runs away comes back with others. The broken leg that seems like disaster saves a life. Good fortune and misfortune tumble over each other in ways we cannot predict or control. So why exhaust yourself judging? Why not just be present to what is, respond appropriately, and trust that the full meaning will reveal itself in time, if at all? Rest in this recognition. You don't have to know whether what happened today was good or bad. You don't have to have it figured out. You don't have to label and judge and decide. You can just say maybe and keep breathing, keep moving, keep living. Let the day settle. Let all the events you've labeled good, bad, fortunate, unfortunate just be events. Things that happened, part of the vast unfolding. Maybe they mean what you think. Maybe they mean something else entirely. Maybe they mean nothing at all. Maybe. Your breath continues, neither good nor bad, just breathing. Your heart beats, neither fortunate nor unfortunate, just beating. Your body rests, no judgment needed, just resting. This moment unfolds, no label required, just being. Maybe this is enough. Maybe this is everything. Maybe sleep comes now, neither good nor bad, just sleep. Let it come. Let yourself sink into not knowing, into mystery, into the great maybe that holds all of life. You don't need certainty. You just need this breath, this moment, this gentle letting go into rest. Maybe tomorrow will bring challenges. Maybe it will bring ease. Maybe. And maybe that's perfectly okay. Maybe you can stop judging and just live. Maybe. Your breathing deepens. Your mind releases its need to know, to judge, to label. Maybe, just maybe, just this, just now, just rest, just peace, just the great perhaps that holds everything in its gentle uncertainty. Maybe, yes, maybe. Sleep now. The horses will do what horses do. Life will do what life does, and you will rest, held by the great maybe, safe in not knowing, at peace with uncertainty. Maybe this is wisdom. Maybe this is freedom. Maybe this is enough. Rest. Be. Maybe. Yes. There was a Buddhist monk named Yuzen who traveled from village to village teaching mindfulness and meditation. He was invited one day to speak to a group of wealthy landowners who gathered in an elegant hall to hear his wisdom. Yuzen arrived simply, in his worn robes, carrying only his begging bowl. The landowners sat before him in their fine clothes, servants attending them, comfortable and attentive. The monk bowed and began to speak. Today I want to teach you about the most important practice, daily mindfulness in ordinary activities. But before he could continue, one of the landowners raised his hand impatiently. Excuse me, venerable teacher, but we have heard about the great miracles and powers that awakened masters possess. We have heard of masters who can read minds, who can see past lives, who possess supernatural abilities. Surely these are more important than simple mindfulness. Can you perform such miracles? Can you demonstrate these powers? The other landowners murmured in agreement. They wanted something impressive, something extraordinary. Yuzen smiled gently. Indeed, I perform miracles every day. Would you like to see? The landowners leaned forward eagerly. At last, something interesting. When I am hungry, the monk said slowly, I eat. He let the silence hold. When I am thirsty, I drink. More silence. When I am tired, I rest. He looked at their disappointed faces. These are my miracles. One landowner scoffed. But everyone does these things. Where is the miracle in eating when hungry? A dog does this. Does everyone truly do these things? Yuzen asked. When you eat, are you eating? Or are you thinking about business, worrying about money, planning tomorrow, remembering yesterday? When you drink, do you taste the water? Or are you distracted, your mind somewhere else entirely? When you rest, do you rest? Or do you lie awake, worrying, planning, regretting? The hall grew quiet. The landowners looked uncomfortable. A dog eats when it eats, the monk continued. It doesn't eat while wishing it was somewhere else, while comparing its food to what other dogs have, while planning what it will eat tomorrow. A dog is fully present to its life. But you are rarely present for anything. You eat without tasting. You drink without feeling. You rest without resting. You are alive without truly being alive. This is the tragedy. He stood and walked to where a cup of tea sat on a low table. He picked it up with both hands, looking at it with full attention. He brought it slowly to his lips. He sipped. He paused, fully experiencing the taste, the warmth, the sensation. He set it down with the same complete attention. That, he said, is a miracle. Full presence in a simple act. Most people will live their entire lives without ever truly tasting tea, without ever truly eating a meal, without ever truly being present for any single moment. They miss their entire lives while thinking about other times, other places. The real miracle is being here, now, completely. Not somewhere else. Not planning. Not remembering. Here, this teaching goes to the core of what we've lost in modern life. We're surrounded by extraordinary things, devices that connect us instantly to the whole world, vehicles that transport us at incredible speeds, luxuries that ancient kings couldn't imagine. But we barely notice any of it because we're never truly present to experience it. You showered today. Probably. Did you feel the water on your skin? Or were you mentally rehearsing a conversation, planning your day, thinking about problems? You ate food. Did you taste it? Or did you eat while scrolling, watching, reading? Your attention fragmented into pieces, none of which were with the actual food entering your mouth. This is what we do constantly. We're physically in one place while mentally somewhere else, usually somewhere that doesn't exist. Either a past we can't change or a future we can't control. Meanwhile, the only moment that actually exists, the only life we actually have, passes by unnoticed, untasted, unlived. The monk's miracle is simple. When eating, eat. When drinking, drink. When resting, rest. But try it. Try eating a meal with absolutely no distraction, no phone, no TV, no book, no conversation. Just eating, just tasting, just chewing. Notice how difficult it is. Notice how your mind rebels, reaching desperately for something else to think about, to do, to distract itself with. Notice how uncomfortable it is to simply be present to this one simple act. That discomfort reveals how far we've drifted from actually living our lives. We're so addicted to distraction, so habituated to splitting our attention, so uncomfortable with simplicity that we can't even eat a meal with full presence. We've forgotten how to be here. We've lost the capacity for the ordinary miracle of full attention. And because we can't be present for eating, for drinking, for any simple activity, we're not really present for anything. Not for conversations with people we love. Not for the work we do. Not for the beauty around us. Not for our own lives as they actually unfold. We're ghosts, haunting our own existence, always somewhere else, never quite here, never quite alive. The dog has no problem being present. When it eats with full attention. When it rests completely. When it plays with total engagement. It doesn't sit during dinner thinking about tomorrow's dinner. It doesn't play while wishing it were doing something else. It's simply, fully, completely where it is. But we've lost this. We've traded presence for productivity, simplicity for stimulation, being for doing. And we wonder why we feel disconnected, why life feels flat, why nothing seems to satisfy. It's because we're not actually here for any of it. We're consuming experiences without experiencing them, living life without being alive for it. The great miracle is full presence in ordinary moments. Not walking on water, not levitating, not reading minds. Those are parlor tricks compared to the profound difficulty and beauty of simply being completely here, completely present, completely engaged with this moment exactly as it is. What would your life be like if you brought full presence to it? If you tasted your food, felt your shower, heard conversations, saw the sky, experienced your own existence instead of constantly thinking about it, planning it, comparing it, judging it? What if you actually showed up for your own life? This is the practice. Not special meditation on a cushion, though that helps. but presence in every moment. When washing dishes, wash dishes. When walking, walk. When talking, talk. When listening, listen. When breathing, breathe. Be where you are. Do what you're doing. Stop living 3 steps ahead or 3 steps behind, or anywhere except exactly here. Start small. 1 meal eaten with full attention. 1 conversation where you're completely present. 1 activity done with total engagement. Notice the difference. Notice how much more alive you feel when you're actually here for your life instead of constantly somewhere else. Yu Zhen's miracle wasn't supernatural, it was natural. Fully, completely, extraordinarily natural. Being alive while alive. Being here while here. Being present for presence itself. This is what we've lost. This is what we need to find again. Not more experiences. Not more achievements. Not more anything. Just full presence for what already is. For this breath, this moment, this simple, ordinary, miraculous act of being alive and awake to being alive. Rest now in full presence. Not thinking about rest. Actually resting. Feel your body. Feel your breath. Be here for this settling, this softening, this transition into sleep. Not somewhere else. Here. Now. This. That's the miracle. Just this. Just being completely here. Just experiencing this moment without distraction, without thought, without being anywhere else. Full presence. Complete attention. The ordinary miracle. Your breath slows. Be here for it. Your body grows heavy. Be here for it. Sleep approaches. Be here for it. Not thinking about it. Actually experiencing it. Present. Awake. Here. This is enough. This is everything. This is the miracle. Just this. Just now. Just being fully, completely, extraordinarily here. Let sleep come with full presence. Let yourself sink into it, aware of every moment of transition, every subtle shift from waking to sleeping. Not trying to sleep, just present to sleep arriving. That's the practice. That's the miracle. That's life fully lived. Rest now. Be here for rest. Completely. Fully. The ordinary miracle of being present for your own life, your own breath, your own moment. Just this. Always just this. Here. Now. Alive. Awake. Present. Sleep. And be present even for sleep's arrival. The miracle continues. Always. In every moment. When you're here for it. Rest. Be. Here. Now. The miracle. Yes. This. Always this. Just this. Your breathing deepens into sleep. You are here for every breath. Present to the end. The ordinary miracle. Complete. Perfect. Enough. Here, in this quiet space, our journey together tonight comes to rest. You've traveled through ancient mountains and simple villages, through the teachings of masters long gone, but whose wisdom remains as fresh as morning dew. You've walked alongside monks and warriors, farmers and seekers, each one discovering the same essential truths in different forms. The burdens you carry can be set down. The recognition you seek is not what gives you worth. The roles you wear are not who you are. The grasping that exhausts you can finally cease. The ordinary moments you overlook hold everything you've been searching for. These stories, passed down through centuries, all point to the same moon. Stop looking elsewhere. Stop waiting for some other moment. Stop believing peace is somewhere else, someone else, something else. It's here, in the breath you're breathing, in the body you're resting in this very moment that asks nothing of you except that you be present for it. The ocean surrounds you. The mountains support you. The way is beneath your feet, has always been beneath your feet. Heaven's gates are in your own awareness. The miracle is now. You are enough. This is enough. Everything is exactly as it needs to be. As you drift into sleep, know that these teachings aren't just words to remember but truths to live. Not perfectly, no one lives them perfectly. But moment by moment, breath by breath, bringing presence to what is, releasing what isn't yours to carry, accepting what cannot be changed, choosing awareness over reaction. If you found peace in these stories tonight, if you feel yourself settling deeper, if some burden feels lighter, return to this space whenever you need it. These teachings will be here. This quiet will be here. This invitation to rest will be here. Thank you for bringing your presence tonight, your willingness to listen, your openness to ancient wisdom speaking to modern hearts. May you sleep deeply. May you rest completely. May you wake with the quiet knowing that you've always been exactly where you needed to be. Before you drift away completely, if this content has served you, if it's helped you find rest, please consider liking this video and subscribing to the channel. Your support allows more peaceful content to reach more restless hearts. Now let all words fall away. Let all teachings dissolve into the silence from which they came. You are held. You are safe. You are home. Just breathe. Just rest. Just be. The night embraces you. Sleep claims you gently. And somewhere in the quiet spaces between thoughts, between breaths, between sleeping and waking, the teachings continue their work. Seeds planted in silence. Wisdom settling into dreams. Rest well, dear friend. The way is with you. The Tao holds you. The Buddha nature within you is as it has always been, perfect, complete, whole. Just this breath now. Just this settling. Just this gentle release into sleep. Nothing more needed. Nothing more sought. Just this. Just peace. Just rest. Good night.